Oh, hey bitch. Oh, excuse me. Baloney wash. I'm annoyed. I'm just here to give my opinion and carry in. Oh, it's Chris Avalon Unfiltered, bitch. Hey y'all, welcome and happy Wednesday. It's your boy Chris Avalon, and welcome to a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered, a show we basically talk about all things going on in celebrity news and pop culture and all that good stuff. So, if that's a show for you, definitely stick around because we got a lot of tea to spill today, including we got to talk Scream 7. We got those box office prediction numbers. We're going to talk about that. But they're saying this is the second best start in a 30-year-old horror franchise. Plus, we got to get into Neve Campbell opening up about why she didn't come back for Scream 6 over the pay disparity. We have some scary movie 6 news and what movies they're allegedly going to be parodying when this movie comes out. Also, we got to talk about why they rebooting the Spider-Verse. That shit did not work. It was a mess. Why are they even thinking about doing it? But apparently Sony, people over there are a little slow. So we'll get into that. Plus, we got some ratings numbers regarding this America's Next Top Model documentary. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has announced who they've got on the roster. It's very much a mixed bag of musicians who they have that's going to be a part of it. Plus, we got to talk this new tea. Ava Max dropped a new song yesterday, which I like. And she's opening about why she parted ways with her label and this new era that she's about to jump into. So we're going to get into that. Kenya Moore looked like she's about to be out of not only a hair care situation, but a salon because she gotta pay $80,000 in unpaid rent and utilities for that spa that nobody was going to. Don Lemon got himself sued by some grifter at a church, basically saying that, how dare you disrupt us? Now I'm gonna sue you for disrupting a church. I'm like, girl, please. So we're gonna get into that foolishness. Plus, we have a bunch of no life having a-holes who want Selena Gomez to divorce Benny Blanco because he had dirty feet on the couch in I think he was doing a podcast and he passed gas. So apparently y'all don't fart and none of that other stuff, or you don't secrete gases from your body. And that's a deal breaker for a lot of y'all. So they want her to divorce him. So we're going to get into that mess. Plus, Rosie O'Donnell's daughter is back in jail because this bitch is stupid. Janet Jackson may have herself a new boo. Speaking of new boos, Pedro Pascal, I think at this point, he's not even trying to hide the fact that he liked dick anymore because him and Rafael was out in LA and they was getting a little handsy with each other. So I have the video, we got the pictures, I got all the receipts, so stick around for that. Plus, Kind of Story did a spread for V-Man, and the pictures was picturing. But we're gonna get into his little interview and what he talked about and all that other stuff, like what he wants to do after he did Rivalry and all this other stuff. So we have that and a whole lot more. So before we get to those topics, hold on. If you could please do me a solid, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to smash that notification bell so that we know when we go live with a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. Hold on. I want to make sure that all my levels is good. Should have did that before we went live. Well, hold on a second. Gotta make sure my audio. It's always on the wrong mic. I know y'all can hear me, but still, okay, we got it good. All right. So now let me hit this thingamabob. Yellow to Gus. You're seeing it on Sunday. I'm seeing it on Friday. But I won't spoil it for you. See, I know how to be good and everything and not spoil things for y'all until everybody's gotten a chance to see it, because you got to be able to see it this opening weekend, Friday and Saturday particularly, because if you don't see it by this weekend, already know everybody's gonna be out here spilling all of what's in the movie. I mean, they're doing it already. But if you have been good at like dodging the internet, you already know at this point it's going to be impossible after this weekend. So speaking of Scream, since we're talking about it, get the banner first. Let's get into Scream. So Scream will be out in about 24 hours or less. Yeah, a little over 24 hours because the first one comes out on when the new movie comes out, probably I think 6-7 o'clock p.m. showings or whatever the case is. I don't know. I guess it depends on where you are. But They're saying that theater owners are having a good reason to scream for joy because this movie is going to be a big one at the box office. I already got my ticket for Friday. I'm going to see it in IMAX. So I'm actually excited to see this film when it comes out. But hold on. So let's get into the topic. Okay, so Paramount Spyglass's Scream 7 has no intention of slowing its slay of the box office, with the latest installment in the 30-year-old franchise bound for actually $60 million worldwide. Well, they said 60 million plus. That would rank as the series' second best opening following 2023's Scream 6, starring Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera, which posted the best domestic opening ever at 44 million and global at 66.4 million in 50 territories. Scream 7 is the sole big wide entry on marquees this weekend, playing at 3,500 theaters in US and Canada and 52 offshore markets. Rivals have been going wild that Scream 7 could outperform its stateside 40 million outlook, but forecasts have been wonky. Many were seeing a $50 million opening for Wuthering Heights, and it was not with a 4-day of 37.5 million. So that underperformed. And they said the sell with excuse me, the sell with 7 is that Scream 6 took a rare detour from Manhattan. Neve Campbell Sidney Prescott is back in Pink Grove, Indiana, where Ghostface broke out. Her daughter is the target. Also, Scream scribe Kevin Williamson finally is in the director's chair for the seventh quel, which is a big deal for fans. Now, Williams, as y'all know, co-wrote the script with Scream 6, and Ready or Not screenwriter Guy Busick, which initially Guy Busick did the script himself, but the reality is Guy Busick, I don't really think understands the voices of someone like a Sydney Prescott, because I was just watching an interview with her and she revealed, remember that line in Scream 5 where she comes and she's on the phone and Dewey asks if she has a gun? She says, I'm Sydney fucking Prescott. Of course I have a gun. She said she came up with that line because the original line was, of course. I'm like, that's so fucking lame. First of all, we already know that Sydney Prescott, the reason why people like her as a final girl is because she had those sassy little one-liners that she would come up with where she would show resilience and strength at certain points in the film. So that was like, clearly that's somebody who really don't understand this universe. And honestly, I don't think Radio Silence really understood the Scream universe. And so that's why I think, in a way, I'm glad that Kevin Williamson has come on board to lend his expertise to this thing. And not necessarily that he co-wrote it. He basically went in and looked at Guy's script and spruced it up a little bit, add a little seasoning to the gumbo, a little extra seasoning, because I'm like, this is tasting a little bland. Let me add a little extra seasoning up in the situation. So Scream 7's 45 million net production costs were co-financed by Paramount and Spyglass. The 6 Scream movies have grossed 908.5 million. So it's almost at the point of it could possibly become the first billion-dollar slasher franchise. So when people sit up there and say, well, it's no Friday the 13th, and it doesn't have Michael Myers, and it doesn't have Freddy, and it doesn't have Jason. It's like, but that's why people like it, is because the meta of it all, the fact that it reflects the state of where we are today, plus the state of horror films that they explore that. And so we like the whole meta thing because, like, yes, literally it reflects like we're watching ourselves have these conversations with our nerdy horror movie fanatic friends. So, or at least that's how I look at it. And then and then it's that, and then also it's the whole mystery Scooby Doo type situation that, yes, the killer or ers are never the same person. It's like it gets stale after a while when it's the same killer. Oh, Michael Myers, who doesn't talk. Oh, Jason, who doesn't talk. Oh, Freddy with his corny one-liners, which we all love that when he made the funny jokes. In the first one, he was a little dark. The third one was where the puns were punning, and we were living for a lot of the puns. But then it got a little ridiculous going further into those franchises. And with this franchise, we like the mystery. We like sitting there trying to figure, okay, who could the killer or Urs possibly be? And what is their motivation? That's why we go back for these movies. It's not only because it's like a slasher, it's also a mystery. It's very Scooby-Doo in how they do things. And I grew up loving Scooby-Doo. So that's why we love these films. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing this film, and Friday can't get here fast enough. Now, Let's get into this story where we could talk about Miss Campbell, who recently did an interview where she talked about why she did not come back for Scream 6. So they said Neve Campbell recently told CBS Mornings that she didn't think I could live with myself if she accepted the offer return for Scream 6. She said, when I made that decision, I just didn't think I could live with myself walking on set. I just didn't feel right. I just knew that my value to this franchise was bigger than what had been offered. For me, I needed to make that choice. She added this by saying, when I said goodbye to it, I thought that was it. I knew that there was a good chance that that would be it. She also explained that although it was tough knowing that the Scream 6 production team was having their first day of shooting and I wasn't there, she ultimately knew she made the right decision to bow out of the film. She added, when I spoke out about it, it wasn't really to sort of rally everybody. It was really just my truth at the time. And the fact that people got behind me, I got lovely support, and that was nice. And I do feel that other people need to make these choices. Now that it says Campbell, the longtime face of the Scream franchise, told Variety in 2022 that she would not be returning for the sixth installment because she felt the offer that was presented to me did not equate to the value I brought to the franchise. She said, sadly, I won't be in the next film. As a woman, I've had to work extremely hard in my career to establish my value, especially when it comes to Scream. I felt the offer that was presented to me did not equate to the value I have brought to the franchise. It's been a very difficult decision to move on. To all my Scream fans, I love you. You've always have been incredibly supportive to me. I'm forever grateful to you and to what this franchise has given me over the past 25 years. And so now it's not even we're at the 25-year mark. Now we're at the 30-year mark. And so times they haven't changed. And I wholeheartedly agree with her. It's like whether or not you think you agree with the politics, we don't get into the politics of Screaming why I think they went back with Sydney in a second. But when you think about it, it's like, yeah, she has been the face since all the movies. We loved her in the original film. And she said because I've been watching a lot of these press junkets that she's been on a lot of press junkets, her and a lot of the cast. And she was saying, like, that was like around the time when she did The Craft and she did Party of Five, and it was in this first season. That was like the first time and people were really feeling a little janky about horror films anyway. Horror slasher movies, horror at that time was not particularly respected in 1996. So she was like, that was the time when people had offered me a lead role. And I was like, okay, this is different. I'm going to take it. And I wasn't really a particular horror movie person, but they were offering me a lead role. I went in and it was her and two other girls that were up for the part. And she killed it and got the role. And the rest is history. And the fact of the matter was, they wrapped this whole franchise around Sydney for so long that I feel like Paramount, Skydance, or just the Scream franchise in general have backed themselves into a corner. And so the only thing they can do is rely on Sydney. They tried to do new people with the core four and coming in with the Carpenter sisters, but I have to just say that whole storyline, it was just janky. It wasn't like the strongest thing that they could possibly come up with in regards of who these girls are. And yes, one of them happens to be the illegitimate love child of Skeet Ulrich's character, Billy Loomis, because he was out there spreading his legs and laying down with everybody like he was Sharon Stone or something. That was a line from what he did about her mother. But Sydney's mother. So I was like, he was going around sleeping with these other girls. And I guess because Sydney wasn't giving him any, so he went and had sex with Christina Carpenter, and out came this girl. Um, um, so with all of that being said, once that whole thing happened with Melissa Barrera speaking out against the genocide that was going on in Palestine, and they decided to take a certain stance because we see what Spyglass and Paramount, what they really morphed themselves into, very white, right wing, very red state, very authoritative, because David Ellison's ass was at the freaking State of the Union yesterday. So if y'all thinking that David Ellison doesn't have political ties and is got some type of agenda he's trying to pull, you are correct in believing and thinking all those things, which I've been pointing out to y'all for the longest. But the reality is now they just making it obvious and not trying to hide it no more. And I truly feel that's why he wants Warner Brothers Discovery. It ain't about movies. I mean, I get he likes movies or whatever. It's a vanity project to him because he's got a lot of money, but you're trying to control our media. That's why you really want it. But that aside, once you get rid of two of your core four, don't come back because the other two was in the movie playing interns to Gail Weathers because that was revealed when they been on the on the interview circuit. When when it comes down to that, now all of a sudden it's like, where do we pivot? We can't bring in new people because then the fans won't be for it. The newer fans are gonna be pissed because they didn't get the core four or they didn't get because of Melissa Barrera. And the older fans, which like myself, who've been riding with this franchise since I was a kid, well, which would be the beginning. Um, we're not going to be for some new. I'm like, now you're trying to introduce some new people. Like, no. So they had to divert back to Sydney. So they had to back up the Brinks truck and offer her whatever they offer her. The word on the curb is she was offered $7 to $10 million. I don't necessarily know what the number is, but it's in that ballpark. And I think she has an executive producer credit, but I hope that it's an actual legitimate executive producer credit. That she has been heavily involved in shaping the movie and not just a producer credit like what Amanda Seyfried got in The Housemaid, which she admitted she was like, I was shocked when I saw the movie and they put my name as executive producer or whatever. She's like, I ain't do shit. It's like, how you signing me up for something? I was like, I ain't do anything. I just showed up and did the film. But they gave her credit. And so I hope it's not that. But I do feel like Neve is very passionate because this is like the biggest. I mean, she's done a lot of things, but to us, I guess she will always be Sidney Prescott. Just like when you look at Jamie Lee Curtis, she's done a gazillion movies and she's had a great career, but we will always know her as Laurie Strode at the end of the day, regardless how many damn Halloween movies she decides to do. So in this situation, I definitely feel like that's what it was. It was the fact that y'all had to go back to bit Neve and with your tail between your legs because you realize y'all fucked up by treating her the way y'all tried to treat her and trying to push out all the legacy characters and ushering these new people. And it wasn't registering because the Scream 5 and Scream 6, them scripts was a mess, especially when it got to the third act. So now it's like, okay, we got to back it up. We got to bring her back because, and then of course, she had to go hit up Kevin Williamson because I would have loved to see a Christopher Landon directed Scream movie, but y'all went and harassed that man and he ain't do nothing, threatening his family and all this other stuff, and he bailed. So this is all Paramount Skydance playing it safe. And now it seems like the hardcore Scream fans are excited. People who love slasher movies that haven't been in this little bubble of all the political stuff that's been going on surrounding this movie are excited to see this film. And I look forward to seeing it when it comes out. So shout out to you, Neve. Um, and I'm looking forward to, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing this movie when it comes out. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Regarding the Scream 7 numbers, because they could probably do good. I don't know. They'll probably fall off a bit on the second week because it's always the first week when you got to see these type of movies, and they've got a pretty good runway of they can make money because there's not really anything great coming out until I think mid March, so they can possibly make a good mint. Oh, for the next 2, maybe 3 weeks, we could push for until Ready or Not 2 comes out, and that's when I'll be excited. That and when is the movie where Zazie Beetz comes out where she got to kill all them damn devil worshippers in that hotel? Does that come out next month or in April? I gotta look that up. But that's another one I'm looking forward to seeing. So the girls are kicking ass in horror, and that's why we love it because that's the one place that women are allowed to shine and thrive in. A specific genre. It's the slasher film industry, horror movies. We love seeing strong women in those roles. So let me know what you guys think of this story if you're excited to see Scream or whatever the case is in the comments down below. I wonder if someone will be screening a bootleg. Now, damn well they're not going to be putting no damn bootleg. That would be funny though, because first of all, these days with YouTube, the minute something pops up there, they flag it and it's immediately taken down. So I don't see that happening. Um, it would be funny though if somebody did leak it and put it up on YouTube. Yeah, in the 90s, slasher movies were considered a low point of a career. He said she'll be 12 in July. Wait, refresh my memory. Who was we talking about? It's like she'll be 12 in July. It's funny, like as fast as I bring up something, the fastest I forget. Why is my watch keep telling me about my screen situation? I know when I'm going to see the movie. Damn it! It's probably because I'm talking and, it picks up stuff. All right. Now speaking of horror, let's go from Scream to Scary Movie 6. So Scary Movie 6, in case those of you who do not know, if you want to see the new trailer for Scary Movie 6, you have to go to the movies to see Scream 7, which I think is fairly genius that they're doing this because Scary Movie 6, I think after the first two Scream movies, then Scary Movie came out, and Scary Movie was funny as hell. Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2, hilarious ass movies. And so I'm actually kind of excited that within like a joint situation, like because Scream is coming out like months later, we're gonna get Scary Movie, and I'm really hoping like in this day and age because those movies were so damn unhinged, inappropriate that in this day and age that they'll really go there with the comedy. And so far, Marlon Wayans has promised that they are really going to go there. They're like, if you're offended, oh well. And I'm like, look, I'm not against offensive jokes. But if you're going to do an offensive joke, I feel like it needs to be clever. It needs to be smart. And I'm not saying that it needs to go lazy like Tony Hinchcliffe, because I feel like his comedy is very lazy. First of all, he ain't funny because I've had to work his shows. But when he has certain comedians get up there, it's like y'all want to just say the most offensive shit, and it's like, okay, you're saying something offensive, but that's not funny. You have to be able to. You got to find a way to work the joke so that way you're saying something funny, but there's a little truth in it, or there's like, okay, I get like you got to be clever with how you set up a joke, is what I'm trying to say. It's hard to explain, but yeah. So you got to be clever with these jokes. And you just want, well, I just want to say the N word. I just want to say something offensive because I want, you want to shock people. And I'm like, shock value is just corny. It's lame. It's late. And to me, it's like, that's not being funny. It's being lazy. We're just doing things for shock value's sake. There's got to be a little setup in what you do. So I'm hoping that they do a lot of funny stuff. But Marlon Wayans, well, apparently they're saying that they're revealing what they will be parodying, because that's gonna be a hard word to say, in the film. So a new interesting update from Paramount Pictures and Miramax's upcoming Scary Movie 6 has been revealed, teasing some of the movies that the new installment will be parodying. See? Parodying. Paradigm. The latest sequel to the iconic horror comedy franchise is slated to arrive in theaters on June 12th, 2026. So 6/12/26. Now, according to Dread Central, which is another horror movie site that I like them. I like superhero, well, not superhero hype. That's not superhero. I mean, that's not horror. Bloody Disgusting. I like Fangoria, and I like all those horror movie sites. Scary Movie 6 will reportedly feature parodies of Ryan Coogler's acclaimed vampire movie Sinners and Zach Kreger's mystery horror movie Weapons, which were released yet last year. Well, I definitely think if you could find a way to make those movies funny, I definitely could see you could poke fun at those films. And especially if you come up with a crazy Aunt Gladys character, there's plenty of older black women out there that you could just parody and make them Aunt Gladys and make them even crazier or as sillier as that character was. So I could definitely see them doing her. Um, then they said, yeah, so they said Weapons, which was released last year. Both movies are currently nominated at the upcoming 2026 Academy Awards, with the Michael Bakari Jordan movie competing for 16 awards, while Weapons star Amy Madigan is nominated for Best Supporting Actress. In addition, the new Scary Movie sequel is also expected to spoof John Krasinski's 2018 post-apocalyptic horror movie, A Quiet Place. Which would actually be funny if they could use the angle, because no shade, but black people don't know how to be quiet in certain situations. Y'all be yelling at the screen. Or look, I know how my people are. So if y'all can make something funny like that, where black people just don't know how to be quiet for a moment, especially when you're in a situation where you got to be quiet or the monsters will get you, then that would actually be funny. And I think that the Wayans are clever enough that they could work those jokes in. So they said Michael Tidds. I don't know if that's Tides or Titties. Is directed, or Tittis is directing Scary Movie 6 from a screenplay written by Marlon Wayans, Sean Wayans, Keenan Ivory Wayans, and Rick Albert. Okay, all the Wayans up in there. And now they got another person coming in. So if you got a couple of people throwing jokes around, it definitely could work. The ensemble cast includes returning cast members Anna Faris as Cindy Campbell, Regina Hall as Brenda Meeks, Marla Wayans as Shorty Meeks, Sean Wayans as Ray Wilkins, well, we gotta see if he's fully out of the closet. Then they got John Abrahams, who, him and it's funny because they got Ray Wilkins and Bobby Prince. You can see those characters were kind of sort of based on Freddie Prinze Jr. because Ray was his name, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And you got Bobby Prince, so they were fucking up in the show. But it'd be interesting to see where their lives are now. Lachlan Monroe as Greg Felipe, sorry, Philippi, and Dave Sheridan as Doofy Gilmore. First of all, wasn't he the killer in the original one? They will be joined by Damon Wayans Jr. and Chris Elliott, Sherry O'Terry, Kim Wayans, Heidi Gardner, Olivia Rose Keegan, and Sydney Park. Now, they say further details about the plot is still under wraps. Marlon Wayans previously collaborated with Mr. Titties in several movies, including A Haunted House, 50 Shades of Black, Naked, and Sextuplets. Well, I just hope that this movie will be funnier than those films, no shade. But if you know a director and you're familiar with him and all this other stuff, then I know like that could definitely work. But I'm just like, sir, let's just hope the movie's funny. That's all I'm hoping that it is. I hope it's a good, legitimate story, and that it's also gonna have me laughing out loud in a theater to the point where I feel like I'm gonna snort a couple of times. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story regarding Scary Movie 6? Are you looking forward to seeing this film when it comes out? So, whatever your thoughts are, and are you liking the parodies? I'm sure they'll add other parodies up in there, but that's just the basis of what we could expect. So, let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. Exactly. And there's been so many movies that have come out since the last Scary Movie. They could also spook like this Gen Z, what they like regarding horror movies, which they kind of did make little jokes at in Scare and Screams. What was it, 5? Or like the Babadook and all the other stuff. They can incorporate some of those movies in there too, with Midsommar and those type of films. But we'll see if that's where they go. But they probably want to stick, who knows? They probably just want to stick to more of the mainstream stuff, like Sinners and Weapons and A Quiet Place, which I heard they're making another one. I mean, it makes sense. I like the Quiet Place movies. All right, now speaking of movies I don't like, and I don't think they should even bother resurrecting because they were all terrible. Let's get into this Spider Verse because apparently there was some Sony executive that went on a recent and did a recent interview that says, you know what? People weren't really feeling the last Spider Verse movie. So, you know what we should do? Instead of not making movies based around Spider Man villains without having Spider Man in it, let's go back and actually do another Spider Verse. And I'm like, read the room. Because clearly, y'all are just not getting it, or y'all might just be slow, or y'all just don't give a fuck. But the box office will reflect it if y'all keep going back to doing the same thing over and over, and expecting different results. Now, according to the report, it said Sony Pictures partnered with Marvel Studios in 2015 to bring Spider-Man into the MCU, starting with Captain America. With the web slinger's popularity on the rise, Sony decided to move forward with its own Spidey-adjacent projects, starting with Venom in 2018. The movie bombed with fans and critics, but made 856.1 million worldwide, which is weird because it's like how the movie people didn't like it, but the movie made 856 million. Y'all must like torturing yourselves. And to be honest, I didn't like any of the Venom movies. Now, I like Tom Hardy in the role, and I liked, the whole voice thing with him and, Venom and all the other stuff. So I like the dynamic between them. The script was terrible. The plot was bad or non-existent, and the effects looked type cheap. So I didn't particularly care for the films. But they made enough money, and so Sony thought, oh, 856.1 million, let's keep going. But then the sequel, Venom Let There Be Carnage, which I think was directed by Andy Serkis. And then the third one they made was some lady who ain't never directed nothing. 506.8 million. That's how much the second movie made. So they lost a lot of million. That's like over $300 million loss. And 400, and then the last one made 478.9. So they kept losing money. but they were moderate hits because it all depends on what the budget was. Now, outside the Lethal Protector, Sony found little success. Morbius, which I still am mad at myself for going to the theater to see that. It made 167 Morbius made 167.5 million. Madame Web followed with 100.5 million, and Craven the Hunter was the biggest flop of the lot with a mere only 62 million. Well, here's the thing. I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. He definitely looked the part, but it wasn't a good movie. That script was bad. Now, they said shortly after the movie's release at the end of 2024, we heard that Sony has shelved all its live action spin-offs to focus on Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man Brand New Day. Talking on The Town with Matt Maloney, Sony's CEO Tom Rothman was asked if the studio will go back to the live action Spider-Verse, to which he responded, yes. When it was put to him that it would be a fresh reboot, the executive once again replied with a brief yes. A recurring issue with the movies listed above was the involvement of producers Avi Arad and Matt Tomac, I think is how you say his last name. Depending on how Spider Noir is received later this year, I kind of do want to see Is that Spider Noir? Isn't that the show with Nicolas Cage? That looks relatively interesting. So maybe the Spider-Verse, because they said, depending on how Spider Noir is received later this year, it's easy to imagine Phil Lord and Christopher Miller being tasked with hitting the reset button on the franchise. Rothman also commented briefly on the long wait for Spider-Man Brand New Day, noting the scarcity has value. You've got to make the audience miss you. He said, I'll just tell you this. There are two people about whom I would say this, and maybe more if I think about it, but these are two that come to the top of my mind. Never bet against Jim Cameron. Okay, please. And never bet against Kevin Feige. He knows what he's doing. Well, we could bet against Jim Cameron because that last Avatar, y'all didn't care about. And then now he running around here spewing false narratives about this Netflix Warner Brothers deal, to which he got read by Mark Ruffalo because of whatever his agenda is. So you can bet against him. But clearly, Sony and them, y'all don't know what the hell y'all doing in regards to this whole situation. Nobody asked for this whole Spider-Verse thing. But what I'm hoping what he means, because he says, yeah, it's going to be a reboot of sorts, and then saying Spider-Verse. So maybe what it is that because they did say a line in here. Hold on, let me scroll up to the article. When they were talking about they want to see how well Spider Noir does, I'm thinking that maybe the Spider Verse they're equating to is the other Spider Men that we saw in the animated films. So like Spider Noir, it will get a spinoff, or maybe that Pig Spider will get a spinoff. So all the Spider Men in well, not multiverse of madness, that was MCU, but you know what I'm saying. Like all the different Spider Men that we got in the animated film, they will probably go off and get their own Spider-Man thing, which I think would be a much better idea to explore those multiverse Spider-Men rather than a film about Spider-Man villains and trying to make them anti-heroes like a Maleficent or the Queen from Snow White or all that dumb shit that they was doing at one point. No, I don't want a misunderstood villain. Make her ass evil or make her multi-layered or have shades of gray. Nobody's black or white. But when you look at this, I was like, nah, that was just a horrible idea. The way y'all went about it, trying to use Spider-Man villains, and you couldn't put Spider-Man in it. Go with the different Spider-Verse Spider-Men and make shows or movies or whatever live action around those. I think that would be interesting versus another Morbius situation. If you're going to use Morbius, put Morbius up in a Blade film whenever that gets off the damn ground. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Are you here for this idea of a Spider-Verse reboot regarding those live action films? Because they were all horrible. Um, or do you think it would be a smarter idea for them to just do the Spider-Verse Spider-Men and make movies based around those characters that we saw in the animated Spider-Man, the Miles Morales films. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. They said, I'm going to delete my YouTube account if you two don't get it together. What you talking about? You talking about you didn't know that I was on the live and you just happened to jump on YouTube and saw me on? Is that what we referring to? Or you talking about you going to delete your YouTube account? What they doing? What's the mess going on with YouTube? Wait, hold on. Let me close this. Excuse me. All right, y'all. So now let's move on and let's talk about Top Model. So we have the numbers regarding America's Next Top Models docu-series that just came out. I know a lot of people ended up seeing it. It was the big trending topic. It was a lot going on in regards to that, and I'm sure everybody loved it and hated it or hated to love it. Well, I was thoroughly entertained throughout it all. But yeah, Netflix has released their numbers. So let's get into it. So the three-part docuseries, a harsh look at the controversial 2000s runway competition show, featured interviews with former contestants, winners, judges, and even creator and host Tyra Banks. Trailing reality check. Wait, hold on. Let's get into the numbers. So, because I was like, I forgot to get to that part. That's why we're here. Um, it premiered at number one on the top 10 English TV list with 14.2 million views. So that's how many people watch Reality Check Inside America's Next Top Model. Now, right behind it, they said The Night Agent Season 3, which debuted at 8.4 million views, and Bridgerton Season 4, which scored 6.3 million views in its fourth week on the streamer. Yeah, a lot of people saying that The Night Agent is underperforming, and it's probably because that second season wasn't that great. I binge watched it with I was hanging out with one of my friends for a week, and while I was chilling at his house, he basically had it on, and I just sat and binged it, and I was just like, "Yeah, this season's not as strong as season one." So that's probably what it is. Maybe people are just like not really feeling the Night Agent. So yeah, it's been underperforming, and I haven't even watched season 3 yet. Now, on the non-English side, the Korean mystery thriller "The Art of Sarah" reached 10 million views in the second week. The German spy thriller "Unfamiliar" boasted 4.3 million views in its third week, and the Polish historical drama "Lead Children" is it Lead Children or Led Children? They said nabbed 3.9 million views. Tyler Perry's Joe's College Road Trip was the most watched English language film with 10.4 million views in its first week. New to Netflix, Ridley Scott's 2012 Alien prequel Prometheus reached the number 2 spot with 6.6 million views in its first week. And K-pop Demon Hunters continues to slay the charts with 6 million views from February 16th to 22nd. Its 36th week on the platform. So y'all sit up here complaining about Tyler Perry keep reheating his nachos with every film, every article, every program, whatever the case is, and y'all sit there and continue to watch the shit over and over, and you wonder why he keep reheating his nachos because that's what y'all want. So stop complaining that Tyler Perry don't give y'all nothing different because y'all keep supporting the same old, same old. Now, to go through the top 10 shows overview from February 16th to the 22nd. At number 10, it has Being Gordon Ramsay, season 1, 2.7 million. Raw, I guess that's wrestling, obviously, is at number 9. Number 8, His and Hers. Number 7, The Hunting Party. Number 6, Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich. Oh, I can't sit through no Jeffrey Epstein shit. I am so engulfed in the Epstein files and watching so many YouTube deep dives regarding this. I just feel like I don't feel like I need to watch the whole Netflix situation. Number 5, Love is Blind. Number 4, The Lincoln Lawyer, season 4, which Neve Campbell is on. Number 3, Bridgerton, season 4. Number 2, The Night Agent, season 3. And Reality Check, America's Next Top Model. And I find it funny that if Paramount gets its hands on Netflix, well, no, it's not gonna get its hands on Netflix. What am I talking about? I was thinking Warner Brothers, but never mind. It's not relevant now because I was like, oh, if they get their hands on Netflix, it won't be as biased. I mean, well, Netflix kind of puts everything on there. They put some of the people that y'all find offensive on the red side, and then there's people on the blue side. So it's like politically with the type of content they put on there, they're neutral, which is what I like about a streaming service. You should be neutral. You put whatever up there, and if people want to watch it, they can. If they don't want to watch it, they don't have to watch it. I don't like this policing of trying to tell people what they can and cannot watch. It's like, no, control what's going on in your house. You don't control what's going on up in mine or what I take as entertainment. So I don't like this whole idea of me thinking back of Paramount and what they trying to do, where they trying to monopolize our media. It was a whole thing of other shows and programs. But one of the things I want to get into, because before I literally turn on this show to do it, I just watched, and it just dropped literally before I went live, by maybe like 15 minutes before. Annie Signor over at Popcorn Planet just did an interview with Lisa D'Amato, and she was spilling some tea. I was like, if y'all get around to it, maybe for this segment, I'll add it into the description. So that way, if you can't get a hold of it right away, you don't want to look it up, you can just go on Popcorn Planet and look it up or whatever on YouTube. And she did, it's going to be a two-parter because they only dropped half the thing. And she talked about like everything that was going on. She said that her season, America's Next Top Model, when she came back to the show, the All-Star season was rigged. She also said that that was not her that got the other girl eliminated so that way she could win the show. She said that was production. They knew from her original season of her backstory and what she had done sex work or whatever the case is, and they decided to use that as a plot point to disqualify her in the episode. She also said that she signed a contract, a winning contract, because they were trying to do whatever they could to get her to come back on the show, and she didn't want to come back, and they gave her a winning contract or whatever the case was. Found out the other girls didn't get one. She said her high profile attorney, the reason why they wasn't able to get her like they got them other girls, her lawyer was the same lawyer that Angelina Jolie had, so they shared the same attorney, and talked about that there was this clause, whatever that they do. Well, first of all, you had to sign an NDA that you couldn't even spill tea about production for 2 years. So that's why a lot of them didn't talk about what was going on in production. And yeah, she was spilling a lot of tea. It was juicy in a lot of ways. And then also was asked, was she asked to, speaking of this documentary, was she asked to do it? She was like, no, because, and that's why she's, I guess, doing the one over at E that's supposed to be coming out next month. Because she said, yeah, if you're trying to get Tyra Banks to come on the show and you want her to be tied in with whatever it is y'all trying to do, you're going to ask one of the biggest rebel rousers of Top Model, Lisa D'Amato, to be a part of it. So she's going to have a problem. And it's like, but if you're saying that she's not controlling this show, if she doesn't have a say so in the show, then why wouldn't you ask other voices to come up in here? And also pointed out that how is it that the judges are allowed to go on this little tour of this little apology tour to promote this docuseries, but none of the models who were victims in all of this have been asked to come on, Sherry Shepherd or The View or any of the other talk show circuit. Why are they allowed to do the different talk show circuits? So they're having to resort to going on YouTube or whatever. And that's no shade because, first of all, YouTube is getting exclusives. And I feel like a lot of people in my line of work, we're getting the more entertaining and more interesting interviews that network TVs would kill for. But the fact of the matter is, y'all want to control the narrative, you want to push a certain agenda, and people want the truth. People don't want fake bullshit and all these other things that y'all trying to push out here because y'all want to fit a certain narrative of what Top Model was and the state of reality TV at the time, which was a mess. And what they're saying is they're trying to, well, what she was saying, Lisa, was that she just wants to go around warning people and trying to see like y'all got to change the outlook of reality TV. Because I'm sure, like, if you ask anybody, I don't think it's as bad as it was back in the day. But I do think that there's a possibility that they're still out here doing some of those crazy shenanigans from back then. Especially like when they talk about production and how they try to manipulate and do certain things for a story. We see it happen on RuPaul's Drag Race and so many other reality shows that we watch. So, but people go along with it because with all the craziness that's going on, there's you get the fame. And she said that she was actually told, not whatever you do, by her lawyer, whatever you do, don't win the show. Because um if you win the show, they can pretty much own you and have your career and make you do whatever they want you to do. And also how they made sure that your career did not surpass Tyra, which I totally believe. Because like, yeah, you get the modeling contract and you get all these things they promise, but at the end of the day, these people with these egos, they don't want you to surpass them in their lane of what they do. I've always kind of felt that way about RuPaul as well, that when you do Drag Race, they want to make sure that you won't become as grandiose as she is. And I could definitely, because RuPaul's done it all and had like a phenomenal career. But I could definitely see like that's why when you look at certain people like Bianca Del Rio, Trixie Mattel, and all these other girls, they well queens, I should say. They have careers in their own little lane and own right, and they don't do exactly what Ru does. But I don't think also that with Drag Race is as bad unless some people willing to spill the tea as it was on Top Model. So it don't seem like, even though this is done well, this one we probably gonna still see more of a breakdown, more exposure, more people who were on the show are going to be speaking out about what happened with Top Model, and I'll definitely be out there because I know the girls are doing a lot of YouTube shows. I think Oliver Twix just interviewed another Top Model girl. I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers who've been interviewing a lot of the former Top Model girls. So this is not going. They're not going to let their foot up on this franchise neck no time soon. This is why I say I don't even think at this point it's a good idea to even bring Top Model back. So just leave it, let it lie where it's at, and let us remember the show for what it was. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story regarding all the ratings with America's Next Top Model being one of the biggest shows of the week on Netflix, with ratings wise, and the exclusive the tea that I spilled, because it ain't exclusive, it was somebody else's channel, but you're probably just now hearing about it as I'm talking about it because it's fresh in the news regarding Lisa D'Amato spilling tea about Top Model and a lot of the rigor that she claims was going on, especially during her All-Star season. So whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. All right, y'all. So now let's move on to our next topic. And let's get into some Rock and Roll Hall of Fame tea. So apparently the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just announced the 17, and that's huge, 17 nominations or nominees that are going to be up for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They even had Pink in there. And I'm like, wait a minute. I always thought it was a third year mark that, I mean, not third, 30 years. You have to be in the game in order to be considered for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Her career is only 25 years old because Can't Take Me Home came out in 2020, in 2000 actually. So I would think like 25, 26 years she's been in the game, like famous in the music industry. And so yeah, so we have the list of celebrities, musicians, I should say, where it's a very much an eclectic group of people, which I know this is probably gonna piss off that dry haired motherfucker from Kiss. What's his name? Gene Simmons. He gonna be mad about this because apparently he don't think black people or rappers should be included in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But good thing is not up to you. So apparently the list of names is this. So the Black Crows, Jeff Buckley, Mariah Carey again, Phil Collins, Melissa Etheridge, Lauryn Hill, Billy Idol, NXS, Iron Maiden, Joy Division / New Order, New Edition, we have a story on them later on when we talk about Janet Jackson, Oasis, Pink, Sade, Shakira, Luther Vandross, and Wu-Tang Clan. And shout out to the Wu-Tang because they just lost a prominent figure that used to work behind the scenes with them and very much was a prominent part of the group. He passed away. Um, but yeah, so they said the 10 nominees appearing on the ballot are, and I should point this out because I didn't even mention like who the people were that this is the first time nomination. Jeff Buckley, Phil Collins, Melissa Etheridge, Lauryn Hill, NXS, New Edition, Pink, Shakira, Luther Vandross, and Wu-Tang Clan. The 7 returning: Black Crows, Mariah Carey, Billy Idol, Iron Maiden, Joy Division / New Order, Oasis, and Sade. That seems like a large crop of nominees. They say it is. For 2025, the total number of contenders stood at 14, 3 fewer than this year's roster. Of the 7 returning to the ballot, 5 were on it just last year and make an instant return. The Black Crows carry Idol, Joy Division / New Order, and Oasis. The singer for the latter band, Liam Gallagher, disavowed the Rock Hall when his band was previously twice nominated, but the nominating committee did not hold his recalcitrance against him this year. So they said the third time being nominated could be the charm for 4 of the artists: Carrie, Iron Maiden, Joy Division, New Order, and Oasis. The 3 second-time nominees, meanwhile, are the Black Crows, Idol, and Sade. The Hall is not going back into its ancient history to find return nominees. A lot of the prior nominations for all these artists occurred since 2021. Now, Pink is the only artist being nominated for her first year of eligibility. Her debut album, Can't Take Me Home, came out in 2000. Jesus, this makes you, it's like, God, we starting to look at these numbers like Father Time is definitely upon us, because it's like, damn, that album came out 25 years ago. They said this year's list has some what might consider a recency bias, relatively speaking. All of the 10 first-time nominees having debuted on the scene in the 80s, 90s, or as with Pink, 2000, despite the annual cries from fans of older rock bands of the 60s and 70s that their favorites are still overdue. Collins is the only 2026 contender who already has a spot on the Rock Hall, having been inducted as a member of Genesis. Buckley is the rare artist getting a shot of being elected on the basis of releasing only one album of his lifetime. Grace came out in 94. The singer-songwriter passed away in 1997. Um, they said those who can be counted on to complain every year that the hall should limit itself to actual rock and roll will have plenty of gripe about this year, although others will be grateful for the wide gamut of genre span. Only roughly half of the 17 nominations will be considered rock per se. The Crows, Buckley, Etheridge, Idol, NXS, Iron Maiden, Joy Division / New Order, and Oasis. Which is why I said when y'all be talking about girl groups versus bands or whatever, when y'all was talking about that yesterday, I was like, if you want to talk in layman terms of the industry, they're gonna say when y'all say Indigo Girls, or you said the Chicks, I'm like, they play guitars and they play, they're a band. So that would be considered a band, not a girl group. It just so happens that it's a bunch of girls in a group, but technically speaking, they're a band because there's live instrumentation that is used as they're performing. So that's the way they're looking at it, if you want to talk technical. But I do like the idea that they're broadening the horizons, because what is considered rock and roll? I know I think Funky Dineva said this once upon a time when Gene Simmons was making his little comments about hip hop. And I guess he was kind of agreeing with him, because he's like, yeah, when you look at hip hop, it's not rock and roll. But I look at it as it's the attitude. Rock and roll is not just, oh, somebody up there, doing, the Michael J. Fox dance in the Back to the Future movie as they're playing a guitar. Like, that's to me not rock and roll per se. I mean, that is, in the layman terms, it is. But I also feel that rock and roll has expanded. It's not just somebody up there strumming a guitar and being in a band or whatever, and using live vocals and not bells and whistles. Which some rock stars actually do use bells and whistles with the pyro and the crazy costumes. I mean, Freddie Mercury did it. David Bowie did it. Iron Maiden, was it also the Rolling Stones, and so many others. They've always done like the pomp and circumstance to go along with their shows, and even Kiss. So if they want to talk about that, but when I look at it, I always think that rock and roll is more of an attitude and a way of being, and not just about the old school terms. So I could definitely see why they would have, people like Mariah or Pink or Shakira and so many others, and Wu Tang. Because I even think like if you have a distinct point of view outside of just, doing an 8 count and whipping your hair back and forth like you Willow Smith, I also think that's rock and roll too. If you have a point of view that you want to get across with your body of work. So I'm not mad at this list, but they also said that the vote will take place over the next 2 months, with those selected by the hall's 1,200 voters revealed in April. At the time, further inductees will also be named, who are entering the hall under three special committee categories: musical influence, musical excellence, and the Amit Erdogan non-performer award. So maybe now what it is, because music is evolved and changed so much, that the definition of rock and roll has to evolve and change if you want to continue to keep this thing going. They also said that Dolly Parton remains the only country figure inducted in the last 23 years. So maybe y'all need to start bringing some country people in there too. But you problematic ones, no, because they ain't shit rock and roll about y'all. But the ones that's out here that's making a cultural impact, I do think that they need to widen it for them as well. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Are you pretty much excited for this list? And who do you think that has been overlooked that deserves their chance in the spotlight in regards of getting acknowledged by the Rock Hall of Fame? So whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. Ooh, excuse me. All right, now let's go for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And let's talk about Miss Ava Max. So, I'd say she works quick because her album Don't Click Play came out last year, and I think it just premiered the crickets. A lot of people didn't care, but me as a music connoisseur and a fan of dance pop music and music that I need to get me going at the gym, this album has definitely got me through the last couple of months. And so she recently just did an interview with Variety where she opens up about what's been going on with her and a lot of the stuff that we've actually talked about on the show, including her being in a relationship with Circuit and Circuit cheating on her with her co-writer and all that is mentioned. So let's get into it. So, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, so are the days of our life. No, I'm kidding. Ava Mack is back with new music since parting ways with her old label, who didn't know what to do with the dance pop singer songwriter. So last week, Ava Max decided to break her silence on what's been happening behind the scenes over the last few months. After days of teasing what appears to be the start of a new era on social media, she posted an open letter to her fans, avatars as they're called, revealing that she's been working on new music and, as some had suspected, that she left Atlantic Records, her label home for nearly a decade, which I think was the smartest move she could have made. In retrospect, I'm better off now because it taught me to stand up for what I believe in and not be afraid to speak up about what's important to me. This is what she wrote. I had to change a few things about what around and do what's best for the music I want to make. Today, Max is speaking candidly about the look, and as she looks back on the year that led her to this moment of newfound confidence. She says, I know what I want, and I think honestly, it's a good feeling to know what you want, she tells Variety in the lobby of her new apartment building in Los Angeles, just 2 days before the arrival of her new single Kill It Queen. Damn, y'all work fast. Well, interviews don't take it don't take long to do. Like you can put that up in a moment. But yeah, Kill It Queen dropped yesterday, actually, and I actually like the song. And she said, and that is a beautiful place to be in, or not necessarily yesterday, at 12 midnight. So it came out this morning, technically, if you want to be, as I said, you want to be technical. And that is a beautiful place to be in. When you wake up, it makes you excited about life. Indecision is what was stressing me out before, being stuck. And I think it's also the fear of the unknown that you feel like, oh, what will I do and where will I go if I actually come out and speak out against the establishment, which would be the record labels or whatever the case is. But I tell people now, these days, the industry has changed so much. You don't really need a label. I mean, it's good that you started off your launching pad with a label and you're able to go off and do your own. I mean, that, they helped you accumulate numbers and all this other stuff, but they didn't really support you, but your fans stood by you. So as long as you probably go to a like if you go independent because you've already accumulated your fan base, you could introduce yourself to newer people who aren't familiar with you, but still hold on to those same fans if you stick to what it is that you want to do creatively. And so they said Max is lighting the fuse on the next phase of her career with a new team that she refers to as her wolf pack. On Wednesday, she released Kill It Queen, the first offering from her upcoming fourth album, due later this year. She partnered with artist PG, reuniting her with former Atlantic executive Mike Caren, who fostered her early success with the imprint and retained a new publicity team. Which I think is smart. Go back to the person who understands you, who knows you inside and out, who sees your potential and has ushered you into the success that you had, because a lot of times when that person that signed you sees your potential and they end up leaving because of whatever reason, if they were fired or there was layoffs, whatever the case is, and then you as an artist are stuck there because you signed a contract with the label and you got people that are there who don't know how you work and understand your ethic and what you do creatively, they're not going to have your best interests at heart. So the smart thing for her to do was be like, I'm going to go back to the person who understands me. So they said, All of this, she says, is a welcome sea change. They're calling me all day and night, and I'm just like, wow, they're more excited maybe than me. How is that possible? Now, Kill It Queen is a self empowered anthem in a classic Max mold, a forceful pop tune that leans even harder into the towering sound of past singles. She taps into her artistic roots. Her mother sang opera back in Albania and embraces her falsetto, something she owned with Eric Vetro, the gold standard of vocal coaches. Clients include Ariana Grande and John Legend. The track is produced by author Besna and Sam Martin, collaborators who have been working with Max on her next single and album. She's aware that the recurring online discourse that she should try something other than the explosive sound of her past singles, saying it only made her play into it more. Something struck a chord. I'm like, no, I love pop music. I love making pop records. Why would I leave that just because I wasn't supported last year? Excuse me, and I had a team that didn't see me, she says. That's why I restructured everything. I left my record label. I love all those people, but they weren't the right fit because someone who doesn't see the beauty in pop music is not the right person for me to work with. Now, she's touching on one of the most challenging periods of her career when she released her third studio album, Don't Click Play, last August. Damn, it's been that long since the album came out. That's like 6 months ago, Jesus. She felt immobilized. The pop singer, whose hit singles Sweet But Psycho and Kings and Queens had more than 3 billion Spotify streams between them, had been trying different managers on a trial basis, but none of them were sticking. At the end of 2023, she split with Circuit, her longtime producer and boyfriend, who started dating her co-writer Madison Love, and was left with a lingering sense of distrust. Ultimately, she felt isolated from Atlantic and the engine behind her success, and she signed in 2016. Max noticed a shift in her standing with Atlantic not long after her debut album, Heaven and Hell, was released in 2020. She recalls, for instance, that they wanted her to adjust her sound and get rid of her signature max cut hairstyle, saying it was an energy shift. It was almost like, okay, we're leaving her on her own. That's how it felt. And I just knew something had to change, but I couldn't change it right away. She pauses while discussing the chapter in her life to air out her black tea. She said, I'm like dripping sweat. Now, Don't Click Play, she says, was entirely her vision. She did it all without her A&R, who wasn't answering my calls. It arrived with a question mark. Was the album actually dropping when they said it would? And after it ultimately did release on time, it was followed by the postponement and subsequent cancellation of her second headlining tour. The stress of it all took a physical toll. She developed headaches and vertigo and knew something had to change. She met with Atlantic and they mutually decided to part ways, saying at the end of the day, we respected each other, describing it as a grown up breakup. We kind of came to an agreement like we're better off without each other. Well, if that's the case, why did it feel like she just kind of, I mean, the label, they were trying to find ways of, oh, we're going to silently sabotage you because they're like, oh, well, your A&R is not picking up your calls because it's like, okay, I want to work on my new album. Why aren't you answering me or whatever the case? So now I got to do everything myself, which it goes to show like if you have to do everything yourself and you have to take your career in your own hands and the label is not doing what they're is not doing their part, then you don't need them because to me, I feel like they really didn't support you as an artist when you were there. And I know people like to give Ava the Gaga comparisons or whatever the case is, but I'm just like, okay, besides the some of the rahs and mamas that she throws up in her songs, whatever, hers and Gaga's music is completely different. It's no different. Well, it's kind of like similar to there was a recent video that I saw, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this." I used to talk about this all the time. When Gaga first came out with her debut album, there was this other artist from Estonia by the name of Curly who used to come in and had like similar styles to Gaga, and people used to call Curly the next Gaga. And she used to get pissed because the one thing was Curly would come out with her different looks and stuff. I know this because I'm from the era of MySpace. And I had a lot of friends that I was people I was friends with on MySpace. And listening to a lot of the music, her music and Gaga's music was vastly different. But the visuals, the fashions, and all those things were similar. And I noticed that I don't know if it was Gaga per se, maybe it was, because when you have a lot of money and a machine behind you, they will the industry is notorious, major labels are notorious for stealing from ideas from the smaller person as if we don't know how to well, I don't know if the internet was as prominent as it was back in the day. Like we don't do research. And they will go and look at the smaller person, and they'll take from them and apply that same aesthetic, whether it's music or the visuals or the outfits or whatever the case, makeup, whatever you want to do, wigs, they apply it to their artists. So it just looks like, okay, so I just literally had gotten this look, and 2 weeks later you out here with the same look. So that's what it was. I know like Ava was getting those comparisons, but I'm like, that's just lazy. To me, she was trying to find a way to stand out with the asymmetrical haircut. And yeah, similarly, they were doing dance music. And I do find it funny. They was telling her that she needs to step away from doing the genre that she likes. And my thing is, stop treating pop music like it's a bad word, because it's not. I feel like it's particularly in this country. Y'all don't respect pop music and pop artists unless it's one of y'all faves doing it. But I've always loved pop music. Pop just means popular, or just you know how to like. It's a certain structure that goes with that music. And if it's just a 2.5, 3 minute song that's gonna give me my life and get me dancing and make me feel happy and have a good time just for a moment with a catchy ass hook, then I'm here for it. And I like. I've always been one of those that roots for the underdog. And to me, I've always looked at Ava as someone who is an underdog. And to me, unlike some of these girls out here who got mid-ass solo careers, Ava seems like she's really hungry, and she's showing it that she's taking her career in her own hands and is willing to do what she got to do to get where she needs to get. And so, shout out to you. I'll be rooting for you, and I'll be looking forward to this album. Because here's the one thing I'll say is that don't click play. I love that record. I've been listening to Skin in the Game. That song for some reason has just been on repeat. I just love the way that whole song goes. And World's Smallest Violin. I love that song. It's like, and I love Sweet But Psycho. Every time Sweet But Psycho comes on in my Apple Music, because I have a certain rotation of songs that just be, floating through whatever. When that song popped, I was like, oh, I haven't heard this song in a minute. When I have it on the shuffle. And I was like, or in my faves, and I listen to it. I'm like, oh, this gets me every time. And it's just catchy. I just love a good catchy bop. And she definitely has an ear for a good catchy bop. So shout out to you, Ava Max. I'll be rooting for you. We'll all be rooting for you. I can't help not reference Tyra in this damn show, apparently. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Or, for those of you out there who are avatars, or maybe not, or maybe you like a casual listener of Ava Max, are you excited to see what this new era is going to bring now that she has freed herself from the shackles of a tight ass Atlantic Records? So, whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. All right, y'all. So now let's move on and let's talk about Miss Kenya Moore hair care, because it seemed like she can't catch a break. Because now, there was this story. I saw it yesterday, but I hadn't had a way of like it had just come out. It hadn't developed into anything yet. So I'm glad I waited. So now we could actually speak on it. But it looked like Kenya lost her little case, and she got to pay damn near $90,000 because she ain't been paying her rent over there at the salon that she was working at, or that she owned, I should say. So, a judge has ordered Real Housewives of Atlanta star Kenya Moore to pay more than 80 grand in unpaid rent and utilities tied to her Atlanta hair spa. The jury stems from a legal dispute between Moore's company and the landlord of the commercial property. This would have been a good story to transition into from like the Tyra one, because Tyra Banks had an issue with her landlord in the ice cream shop, and now you got one over here in Atlanta. They said, according to court documents obtained by TMZ, a Georgia judge ruled that Moore's business entity, Moore Vision Media, must pay two separate installments totaling $87,976. The dispute centers around alleged unpaid rent and utilities at the Kenya Moore Hair Spa, which opened in Atlanta in 2024. The landlord, Northland Chambly LLC, filed suit in October of 2025. And then they give a breakdown of the court ruling and the claims made by both sides. So it says court documents indicate the Georgia judge ordered More Vision Media to pay $43,988 by late February. The court further required an additional payment of $43,988.67 by late March. So she got to make two separate payments. Together, those amounts total $87,976. In addition to the lump sum payments, The judge ordered Moore's company to continue paying approximately 5,500 per month in rent. Jesus. So on top of that, you still got to pay your rent. This requirement remains in place until the company either vacates the property or the matter is otherwise resolved. The ruling followed claims made by the landlord, Northland Chamberlain LLC, which alleged that the business stopped paying rent on December of 2024. Girl, you went a whole year and 3 months without paying your rent. The lawsuit also included claims regarding unpaid utilities under the terms of the lease agreement. A couple of weeks after the judge issued the order, the landlord alleged that Moore's company failed to make the first required installment payment by the court's deadline. As a result, the landlord demanded immediate possession of the property. At this time, the court has not ruled on that specific request. The case remains active, and additional proceedings may determine whether the property will be vacated or if further financial penalties will apply. So, Kenya, girl, a mess. I like Kenya more because she's good TV and she messy. And so that's what I like about her. But see, if you ain't did what you did to Britt Edie, and was a one and done anyway, if you would have just held out and stopped doing your little Gone with the Wind Fabulous as shenanigans, which is what I feel like you did with the whole revealing nudes of her in uncompromising positions or whatever, in compromising positions, I should say. Um, because it was consensual on their part as a couple. It wasn't consensual for you to be exposing people's nudes that you found online that you decided to show at your opening of the hair spa. So maybe people ain't been showing up because you done cursed the place by doing that little stunt. And we like when you did the scepter and the fan and Gone with the Wind Fabulous and the twirling and all the other stuff, but you went a little too far with that situation. And I feel like if you would have held out and just been classy based and just threw out a couple of sassy one-liners and reads or whatever at Brit, you would still be on the show. Because quiet as it's kept, a lot of you girls, when you do like the Housewives or whatever the case is, y'all need those shows to be able to promote what y'all got going on. And when you're not on TV, I mean, you wasn't on The Traders, you wasn't doing any of these other shows that Bravo celebrities do. How do we know what you up to? How would people know? Like, is the hair salon still around or whatever the case is? So I feel like with you not being on television, it may have affected your business. I also wonder, did you have people, employees like hairstylists or whatever, working in the salon? And if you do, are you doing like other salons do, where you're renting out the chair for these, the hair stylists or whatever the case is are using? Or is it that you just had these people come up in here and they make their little coins or whatever based off of, you know, um, how they, when you getting the haircut or whatever the case, or your hair styled or whatever the case is, and they just getting like a little sum. I don't know how hairstylists get paid. I don't know if it's they get a salary and then they get tips on top of that or whatever. So whatever, however that situation working out, I wonder if you have enough people in there that was doing hair, and on top of that, because I would think your name and your fame would want people to come in and get their hair done at Kenya Moore Hair Salon. But so I don't know how you was running your business, but it seemed like you was running it poorly, because if you was running it right, I don't think you would be in this predicament. So it's unfortunate. Hopefully Kenya can find a way to get back on TV. But sis, you got to pay that 80 grand. Unfortunately, and plus on top of that, $5,500 a month in rent until I guess the lease is up. So I say, oh, this is why y'all gotta dot your I's and cross your T's before y'all start getting in these little businesses. It kind of also makes me wonder if she did this whole hair salon, because I think a hair salon idea would be good for Kenya. That's perfect. But I wonder if she did it because she needed a storyline on the show. But once they dropped her behind, you didn't have a storyline. So what's the point of the hair salon? So maybe it was a vanity project, not, but instead of it actually being something you legitimately cared about pursuing as a business. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. All right, so let's move on. And let's talk about Donald Lemon. So apparently, I swear to the Christ, a lot of you church folks, y'all cease to amaze me with the amount of stunts and shows y'all will pull in regards of some bullshit emotional distress. So apparently, remember, I don't remember, was it last month? So much crap has happened with this regime. I can't keep up with when, you know, certain dates have happened, or whatever. But Don Lemon apparently, when that whole thing was going on in what was it, Colorado? And there was a whole situation going on, protests, people had been killed by ICE, and Don Lemon only just went down there to report the news because at the end of the day, even though he no longer works at CNN, he is still a journalist. So he was doing his journalistic duties. Only difference is he's independent now. He's not cut to some corporation that's going to make him have to spew a certain narrative because they don't want to piss a certain regime off. Because y'all know how Trump get when the truth get out there. All of a sudden they lying, fake news. He want to sue, and instead of these corporations fighting him on his frivolous bullshit, they comply. And then it makes it look like, oh well, he was right all along. When I'm like, throwing money at a nuisance is not going to solve the problem. You're just putting a band-aid on a much bigger wound. So when he went down, oh, it was Minnesota. I don't know why I said I was thinking Colorado, but no, it was Minnesota. Um, so yeah, then after that whole situation with the pastor, because apparently the pastor at that church was aiding and abetting, and I think he was also a member of ICE. So once he was exposed and they was protesting him, now one of the churchgoers is claiming, "Oh, she has emotional distress, and I want to sue because you had the unmitigated gall to to interrupt my moment of worship." So a woman who claimed to have been attending service during the Minnesota church protest, and she probably gonna have to prove that too, covered by Don Lemon last month, is now suing Lemon and other protesters, saying that she suffered severe emotional distress as a result of the incident. Don Lemon had churchgoer, it's Doucette and Doucette, but I'm gonna call her Ann Douchette, because that's what it looked like. Appropriate name for a Karen, claimed in a lawsuit filed Monday that protests unlawfully interfered with her ability to freely exercise her religion and resulted in severe emotional distress, fear, anxiety, and trauma. All the things that religion teaches you to be emotionally distressed, fearful of the unknown, keep you straight up anxious and traumatized. If that wasn't the case, then why did David Archuleta have to come out and write a book? Okay. So if we want to talk about religion and its bullshit amenities, we can go there. So Lemon documented an anti-ICE protest that took place at a January 18th church service led by the church pastor David Easterwood, an alleged ICE field officer, following the fatal pow-powing of Renee Good. Douchette was in attendance during the protest and claimed in her lawsuit that the independent journalist did not simply live stream the event, but that he appeared to take satisfaction in the disruption. It's called doing your job, dummy. But she probably wouldn't know about that. She added that one protester said on social media that they assisted Lemon with logistics and local contacts in support of the operation. The former CNN anchor was arrested January 30th and charged with one count of conspiracy, which to me was a violation of his right to free speech. So they said with one count of conspiracy against the right to religious freedom at a place of worship and one count of interfering with the exercise of the right of religious freedom. He pleaded not guilty to the charges and insisted that he exercise his right to the First Amendment, exactly, which is what he did as a member of the free press. It's like if there's something going on, if you go in the middle of chaos, you have to report it. Anderson Cooper made a whole career out of going in the middle of crazy things going on and addressing it and covering it. The former CNN anchor, they said the churchgoer also listed activists Nakima Armstrong, Chantel Allen, William Kelly, Jamel Lundy, Traherne Cruz, and I'm sure they're probably all black, Georgia Fort, and Jerome Richardson as defendants in the suit. She is seeking an unspecified amount for the claimed damages. Okay, I'm not going to read this shit no more. First of all, girl, did you pull a muscle with that big ass reach you just did? Because I'm just gonna throw this out. They can look at her like, is this bitch for real? That's literally what I would do as a judge. Like, are you really up in here wasting my time on this foolishness? But if she gets something like a MAGA judge, I wouldn't put it nothing past him that he would probably grant her whatever. Because I just saw a story that there was, and this is how crazy of the nation we live in. There was a story that I saw on Facebook, if I can remember exactly where it was. It was a guy, a kid, a black kid, who was apparently forced to drink. Well, they gave him apple juice that him and a bunch of other kids peed in. The kid went and drank it, and the mother took them to court to sue them over this whole because they filmed it and they put it on social media and used it as a way to bully him. And then when I found out what the whole story was, so instead of the white kid, so that's what it is. Now let me look because I was finding I was trying to stall. So yeah, I saw this on social media. So they said a group of white boys harassed, taunt, abused a black kid. And this is in Florida, by the way, so y'all should be surprised. A group of white boys harassed, taunt, abused a black kid for almost 2 years. They urinated in a cup, mixed it with apple juice, and filmed themselves making him drink it. They shared the video online to bully him. One of the white boys' dad then sued the black boy's mother for speaking out about it and calling the boys who did it racist. Oh yeah, I did hear about this story. And guess what? The motherfucker wound up getting $3.2 million for what? Your son is a bully. He picked on this kid. They harassed him for 2 years, probably being all kinds of racist. And white people could just harass people all they want, and you get rewarded almost $3.5 million. Like, what fucking multiverse are we living in at this point? Where being an asshole and being a bigot and being just some opportunistic grifter gets you farther in life than people who actually are well-rounded human beings that just want to do right by themselves and just get by in the day. I'm not saying you just gotta just like and then just like trying to live your life as whatever, but why is it that it seems like all the assholes are getting away with murder? They're the ones winning right now, while the rest of us are just sort of like those of us who do the right thing. We're jailed, you're taken out and killed, and all kinds of other crazy shit. It just the twisted, psychotic world in which we live in, where assholes and rapists, child abusers, molesters, all being rewarded for their overall stupidity. It's just a shame and it's unfortunate. And I just feel like this case is bullshit. And I can't even say, I could just see the judge literally looking at him like, and I'll speak in my own language. Bitch, are you serious with this shit? I'll tell you, some of these religious people, y'all are just batshit crazy for real. So, I don't know if Don has talked about this situation, but I did know that he mentioned that he won an NAACP Image Award. So congratulations to him on that. Also, SZA got an award and Cardi B got a NAACP award. So I know he was celebrating that because the NAACP awards is this week, but he did mention that he won. So that's a good thing. But I don't know if he's mentioned since this story has come out, because I haven't watched the show, about this ridiculous lawsuit that he's probably just laughing at as we speak. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story in regards of Don Lemon being sued by a Minnesota churchgoer who said basically that you disturbed my moment of worship. Now I need you to pay me for my pain, your fake ass performative pain, your grifting ass pain. So let me know what you guys think of this ridiculous story in the comments down below. Okay, y'all. So now let's move on to some more mess. And let's talk about Rosie O'Donnell, whose drug addicted daughter, Chelsea, can't seem to keep her ass out of trouble. So she just got released on probation, and now she's back in jail because she went and grabbed a man's genitals, I kid you not, without his consent. So yeah, that got her arrested. And before y'all come out here and talk about, well, he ain't no, like, if you looking at a man for complaining about a woman touching him inappropriately, sexual harassment and abuse doesn't only just happen to women, and we should also respect men who don't want to be inappropriately touched. Don't grab a man's ass, don't grab his dick, don't be doing any kind of that inappropriate shit. And I hate the fact that we as men are supposed to just sit and take it because we're men and we're supposed to just you're gay if you let somebody I don't give a fuck who it is. If I'm not into you, if I'm not interested in you sexually, you shouldn't be touching any part of my body that sexual things happen at. And that's the way I'm gonna leave it. So Let's get into the story. So, the alleged incident was outlined in a report written by the state of Wisconsin Department of Corrections, which explained why Chelsea's probation was revoked late last year. The report, which was obtained by TMZ, states that Rosie's 28-year-old daughter committed the sexual act while she was driving a car, with the alleged victim sitting in the back seat on the passenger side. Well, damn, she got long ass arms. She was reaching that far back. Chelsea allegedly reached back and touched the man's inner thigh and then his genitals. When the man turned her down, Chelsea allegedly got upset and began to drive erratically and not pay attention to the road. So, because I wasn't willing to give your ass no dick, you was trying to kill me? Oh no, bitch. You definitely got to go to jail for that. Now, Chelsea later spoke to officials and denied assaulting the man per TMZ, and she's not a damn dope fiend either. Okay, sis, nobody believes you. She's a crystal meth addict because we've seen it. She's a crystal queen, and you out here touching people inappropriately. So just as much as you was a drug addict, and I'll be like, you should be judging her. Well, I am. The fuck. So they said, Page Six has reached out to Rosie's rep, and well, what is Rosie gonna say? Rosie living her best life in Ireland. I mean, she was in the United States for 2 weeks, which she did reveal, and she was like, "Oh no, I'm good. I ain't coming back to this shit." And then went back. She ain't worried about that girl. She watched. She tired of like, what can you do? And I know some people could say, "Oh, you a bad mother," because look, you can only do so much with a damn junkie for a child. Sometimes, if you try to weigh all the options and try to get someone the help that they need, and they're not willing to take those steps to get that help, then what can you do? Unfortunately, the harsh reality is, I just got to sit back and watch you deteriorate and kill yourself by being a drug addict. What can I do? Because I've tried every option. I've tried to get this girl in rehab. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for her to get better, and she don't want to do it. Which is why all her kids got taken away from her, and they living with their fathers because she has multiple baby daddies. I think like two. That last one that she was with, he was a junkie too. So I don't know if that baby is with him or if it's in foster care. But I know the other kids she had with the first man, he got full custody of them. It's funny how I remembered all that. Okay, so they also said she had her probation revoked and was sentenced to prison in October of 2025. So I find it funny, all this is coming out now. We're in February, and this has all happened like in the fall of last year. So at the time, an official from Marinette County Treatment Drug Court team told Us Weekly that Chelsea was in violation due to sexual assault allegations. The official also claimed Chelsea showed minimal advancement in the treatment drug program. The conditions of Chelsea's 6-year probation including absolute sobriety, no possession of alcohol or another controlled substance without a valid prescription, no contact with any known drug users or sellers, and no possession or ownership of any firearm, according to People. Chelsea was under probation for 3 arrests that occurred in 2024. Now, in September 2024, she was detained regarding a domestic dispute involving her boyfriend, Jacob Nealon, at their home. According to police reports, officers discovered a meth pipe, allegedly. That's why I said she was a crystal queen. Well, I usually call them Methodists with the people that like to do meth. Allegedly left within her son's reach. So you out here smoking on that glass peen, and your child, who is an infant, could get their hands on it, and all of a sudden you got a child that could get high off your supply because you being irresponsible. And ain't shit responsible about a drug addict, especially when there's kids in the house that aren't even available or aware on how to take care of themselves. So, and then they also went on to say that, according to police reports, officers discovered a meth pipe left in the child's reach, a black and silver digital scale, some used gem bags gem bags, as in GEM, bags with white residue, and a sharp container that had more used and unused hypodermic needles. So you got all that stuff up in there, and y'all already know if y'all out here sharing needles and you got used needles and stuff, you can get HIV from that. So you got to worry about that too. And that's how my uncle, may he rest in peace, ended up getting AIDS because he was a junkie My mother's brother, he was a junkie, and he did heroin because he was introduced to it by my cousin, which I don't even know if the family ever forgives him for introducing him to heroin. And he wanted to get high so bad he used a shared needle, and that's how he got it. It's like as I said, people don't be thinking when they do this stuff. So according to they're just thinking about getting that high, that fix. Because that come down is something fierce. I wouldn't know, but I know it from people that I've watched firsthand. And there was a company I used to work for that dealt with people who were HIV positive or had AIDS, and they were trying to come. Then they had to come and get the methadone shot just so that way they can, level their situations out. Been around the world and in regards to the businesses. I've had many a jobs. So So they said a month later, Chelsea was arrested again when she allegedly tried to throw a meth pipe out the window of her car after being pulled over at a traffic stop because apparently she don't realize they got cameras up in that car and police officers have eyes and they're gonna see you throwing some like what this bitch throwing out the window. Of course they're gonna be like, okay, now we got to take your ass in. Her third arrest, which happened in November of 2024, was for possession of methamphetamine, bail jumping, and possession of narcotic drugs. She pleaded guilty to she pled guilty to all three arrests and received a 6-year probation, 2-year sentence for each of three guilty counts in March of 2025. Chelsea also has an estranged relationship, as y'all know, with Rosie, who adopted Chelsea as a baby in '97 for most of her adult years. Now, at the time of Chelsea's sentencing in October, Rosie posted a picture of her daughter on Instagram before addiction took over her life. She also asked for prayers as Chelsea faces a scary future. Well, I don't know, like I said before, I just don't know what could you possibly do for her to get her mess together. I guess she's just going to have to hit that rock bottom for her to wake up. And it's unfortunate that how people get so wrapped up in their addiction that they just don't see a way out. And she's going to have to hit her rock bottom or have a too late moment for her to get herself together. So, Chelsea, hopefully you do get it together, but I don't know if I see it. Um, I don't want to be negative, but at the same time, it's going to be a long road for her to finally get her shit together. And it's probably not gonna happen anytime soon. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Whatever your thoughts are on the latest regarding Rosie O'Donnell's troubled adopted daughter. And I'm wondering why her biological mother ain't trying to help her since she had all that shit to say about Rosie back in the day when we started hearing about these arrests. They were trying to throw Rosie under the bus. So let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below. Here we go. Where we going? Where we going? Okay, y'all. So we're gonna do the show kind of quick today, probably because y'all not commenting as much. But in the meantime, I do have wait, hold on. I think I forgot to I did. I didn't create the Cardi B banner because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm missing something. Yeah, we got the Cardi B story to get into. Hold on. Because I was like, wait a minute now. Wait, why is it it's not what I wanted to do. It wrote the same thing twice. I was like, why is it creating kind of story again? Okay, y'all. So now let's move on to our next topic. Now that I got that out and fix that situation situated. And let's talk about Cardi B. So, you already know, and it happened around the Super Bowl that Cardi B and Stefon Diggs are no longer together. I remember I showed y'all that clip where they said, I think it was ESPN, or one of them asked her on the red carpet, "Do you have anything to say to Stefon Diggs as he's getting ready to go play at the Super Bowl?" And she made this face and was just like, "Good luck," and just walked away. So we all knew then it was like, okay, there's like a tone shift here. There's something going on with her because she seemed to be in good spirits when they first announced that they were going to the Super Bowl. And she was like, "We going to the Super Bowl and everything." And then 2 years later, it's funny how what 2 weeks can do to a relationship. Because 2 weeks later, did I say 2 years later? Two before 2 weeks later, they broken up. And they weren't really talking about it, whatever. But then she did mention um at one of the concerts, because I did see the clip, Just be like, just because I'm mad at my baby father, don't necessarily mean you can say some shit about him, something or another in that context. I'm looking forward to working her show because I just got my schedule last night. So yes, I am working the Cardi B show next month. So I'm excited to work her show and see how that is up close instead of seeing all the clips and stuff online. But um let's in the so with me setting all that up, now there's a story that's coming out according to reports, the reason behind Cardi and her split from Stefon, which I don't think you really had to tell me why, because I kind of did a lot of the stuff I was saying as the reason what was going on in the relationship turned out to be what this person said. So it was a trust issue because apparently he was going around laying low and spreading wide all these women. I'm like, sis, the minute you found out that man was running around here having multiple babies on you around the same time you was pushing out his son in November is when she had the baby. You having a baby, a bunch of other women having a baby, all in the same year. So y'all like what? Irish quintuplets or something or other. I can't remember how many babies was in total. It might have been 3 or 4. But you know when they say when you have multiple babies from different women in that time, they call them like Irish twins if there was like 2. But then it's like with him, he couldn't keep his dick in his pants, which we all knew that from the beginning, which is why we said Cardi leave that man alone. But that's what she chose. This is the avenue she decided to go down, and now she's gonna have to be stuck with this man because of the connection between the babies for the rest of her life. But I did hear that he was trying to woo her back. He was all these other things, and she was just like, "No, it's not working." And if you want to come see your son, you can see him. But with her having the money that she has and the access that she has, she could just have the nanny take the baby over to him. They can spend the day together, and when it's time for the baby to come back to his mother, nanny go get the baby, bring him back to Bel Khalees, and we all move on with our lives. So they said they were always so up and down. This is what a source told Us Weekly as the pair who split a few days before Diggs and the New England Patriots were defeated by the Seattle Seahawks in Super Bowl 2026. I was actually happy that the Seahawks won because I don't like the Patriots and I don't like their boss, especially a lot of what he stands for politically in the whole Israel Zionism bullshit. So I'm glad they lost on that count. So now they said this isn't the first time they have broken up. He betrayed her so many times. Her friends have been trying to show her that he is not right for her and that she deserved better. Cardi is now single and putting herself out there again, a source shared, adding, she feels free. The source told the outlet that the Grammy winner is focusing on her music right now and realized she doesn't want to be worried about him while she's on tour. Which I hear that the tour is doing relatively well. I mean, she sold out the Kia Forum for 2 nights, which I don't think has ever been done by a rapper, let alone a female rapper. I think it's so far as like female rapper, 2 nights at the Kia, where you didn't have to like run down seats and cover them up with sheets or whatever, as some of you bitches have done. And I've caught y'all doing that. We've seen the pictures. We brought it up on the show. She never had to do that because Cardi has a huge fan base. People like her. She's personable. She seems, well, I'm just saying, based off the image we're getting. And that's what people want to see. So and people like her because she seems like she's personable. She's not an asshole and all this other stuff. And people like that she just comes out and says it how she means it. Say it like you mean it. Ooh, ooh, shout it out. Didn't Wendy Williams say that? How you doing? But so she's successful in that whole situation. I also heard that she had a truck that has a like a recording studio in it. So she's also been making new music as she's been touring, which I think is smart because you've been gone for so long. It's like you and your ghostwriters get up in there, y'all start working on your songs or whatever, and you get in the booth when you got time, do your songs, and then you could probably add them to the tour, or it could be like something to shape the next album. Because I feel like you have been gone for a minute. You got to keep that momentum up. You can't keep your fans waiting another 7 damn years. Otherwise, your career gonna end up like Lil Kim's, where she out here getting mad at the fans for trying to tell her how to do her career. So they said Page Six has reached out to reps for both Cardi and Diggs, but did not immediately hear back. Rumors that Cardi, who's 33, excuse me, and Diggs, who's 32, had called it quits surfaced after the Super Bowl earlier this month. The Bodak Yellow rapper immediately left Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California, after she appeared in Bad Bunny's all star-studded halftime show She did not stay to cheer on her boyfriend for the second half of the game. And remember, there was a whole situation that went on that they said she spent over, I think, $1 million on renting out some suites and like flying family and all these other people in so that way they could celebrate him on his situation. But I guess once you already put that deposit down, it was no coming back. So I guess she had to lose that money, and whoever got to enjoy it on her dime got to enjoy it on her dime. But I'm looking. But she's probably looking at it, please, like over $1 million. It's probably like $10 to her. So I can make that back in a day because I'm hearing that she makes $2 million per show that she does. So she already made that money back, from Tori. So now they said that they also unfollowed each other on IG. Now Diggs was also spotted with Pre, a woman who allegedly had an affair with Cardi's ex-husband Offset, which I told y'all she was there, along with one of his baby mamas, recent ones. In a video shared by the NFL, Diggs greeted Pre and told the athlete she loved him as he greeted her and his other friends and family before kickoff. Additionally, Pre was seen on the field with the Patriots and wearing credentials that gave her access to the team to their team hotel. Earlier this month, Cardi confronted the split claims during her Little Miss Drama tour stop in LA, saying, see, this is what I was just saying. Like, literally, they got the line in here that I was just telling you about because I said I saw the video. She said, let me tell you something. Just because I ain't fucking with my baby daddy doesn't mean you get to talk about my baby daddy, bitch. This is for you, bitch, she said, according to a viral video shared online. The I Like It MC and Diggs began dating in 2025, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But look, she got other kids. She got Culture, who's 7, Wave, who's 4, and Blossom, who's 1, and now she got this other infant. But it's good. Like, look, we know her uterus work. She in her early 30s. She popping them all out now, so that way when they get to be a certain age, at least they all close together in age, which I think is good. And she's got enough money to take care of all them damn kids. But Cardi, you got to do a whole lot better with the men that the company you keep relationship wise, because every man you lay down with, and I'm not saying you don't need to get your coochie scratched, but if you're gonna lay down with men or whatever the case is, if he ain't gonna wear no condom, you got to do what you got to do. Because who likes condoms when they fucking? It's like, if you're gonna lay down and not use no condom, so that way he don't skeet up in your cooch, then you do what you got to do to make sure that you're not gonna end up out here with a oops baby or whatever the case is, and now all of a sudden you got a litter of children and you the female Nick Cannon. When you got all these damn kids, and then all the baby mothers has got their drama, which we've been hearing about with Nick Cannon, and a bunch of his baby mothers have been speaking out on this whole harem of bullshit they caught up in. And then now you got to deal with these type of men who, in so many ways, ain't no different than Offset. Because even though Stefon is a football player, and he's probably got not probably, he most likely has way more money than Offset does. You dating the same, you hooking up with the same type of man with the same type of drama and the same type of attitude. And just because he's a part of the NFL don't necessarily mean he don't have them nookerish tendencies, because we seeing it coming from Stefon. And if you sit up here saying that he don't like drama, you clearly do, because if you get with someone like a Cardi B, you like all that mess. And it's not just with her, but it's also the multiple women that you decide to just sleep with. I don't know if this has anything to do with these rumors that he might be into men or whatever the case is, and that lawsuit that came out from that dude that said that because he rejected Stefon's advances, that allegedly, that he just didn't want, he objected his advances, that wound up getting beat up or whatever the case was. I can't remember that full story, but y'all know what I'm saying in regards to that. That is like you're trying to overcompensate, as a lot of these so-called alpha males like to do, these masculine presenting men like to do, where it's like y'all going around and having multiple children, but y'all really like the D and sticking y'all D in some P. No, I mean, in the booty cheeks. You know what I'm saying? So I think that Cardi B, you are smart for taking the time to focus on yourself, focus on your career, and if the right guy comes along down the road, you receive it, be open to it, and I do feel like there's a good guy out there for you. But I always say that a lot of times the type of people you attract is based off of the energy that you putting out there in the world. So maybe you need to restructure your energy and the type of men that you be wanting. Like, let him be a nooker in the bedroom, but a gentleman out in public and not disrespecting you and sleeping with a bunch of birds because they got they got something to prove. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story in regards to this report that's saying that, yeah, they split because she couldn't trust him. And he was going around, I guess, laying low, spreading it wild with a bunch of different women. And she was just tired, I guess, being made the fool. But if you get another man that's similar and with these other men, girl, you know we're gonna be looking at you with a side eye and we just gonna have to read you down to the ground because, like, man, at some point you gotta get it together and realize these men ain't the problem. I mean, it's the company, it's the thing you attract, it's your energy. It's you. You gotta reshift and refocus what it is that you like and some of the men that you get with. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. All right. Um Aloha Kitty. I think you were trying to say this because you forgot the S, I'm assuming. Um Anyway, let's get into more of the show because we have four more topics to get to before we wrap. So, before we get to our final four, if you could please do me a solid and hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And also be sure to smash that notification bell so that way you know when we go live with a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. We also have membership. So, if you want to sign up for a membership, you could definitely do so on the page. But if you don't want to throw a little cointada in this direction, you know, my love and this show don't cost a thing. So you can hit that like and that subscribe. It definitely pushes the show out there amongst the algorithm and all that other stuff, and it helps get more eyes on the show. Please and thank you. Now, without further ado, let's get into this Selena Gomez story because I'm talking about her fake ass fans. Y'all are some haters because I don't really think y'all genuinely care about this girl. Because now they telling them because of something they saw in a podcast that apparently Benny Blanco does that they want her to divorce him because he had dirty feet on the couch and at one point he even passes gas on camera. And so now they are appalled. They're disgusted by what he did. So let's get into the story. The music producer, who's 37, debuted his new podcast with his best friend, Little Dicky, and Little Dicky's wife, Kristen Badalucco, called Friends Keep Secrets on Tuesday. At one point during the episode, Blanco lounged barefoot on a couch wearing an orange and white t-shirt and tan pants. His feet were visible to the camera, and what appeared to be dirt covered his soles and toes. At another point in the podcast, he purposely farted so everyone well, my thing is your floor must be real dirty if you walking around there with nothing on your feet. And your feet are that black. But um wait, see if you guys could pick this up, he said as he passed gas. So he's being childish. I mean, it's like he's 37. You know, guys do a lot of childish shit. Some of Gomez fans weren't amused as they expressed their feelings on social media. Saying, I can't believe she lets him touch her, one person wrote under a clip of the podcast. The other person said, literally, why would she marry him out of all the men in the world? Another commenter wrote. One Twitter user wrote, that is disgusting. I don't know how Selena deals with this. Some fans even urged the former Disney Channel star to divorce Blanco, saying Selena needs to divorce him and find someone better. This is what another Twitter user wrote. Another comment reads, I have never been more disappointed in Selena than I am right now. Only because what? Because he walks on a floor and it's dirty, as if y'all don't be walking on your low floors in your house and got black ass feet and you don't fart? Or your significant other, or it also goes to show that maybe y'all have not ever been in a relationship and you don't realize that these things happen. I've been in relationships where they pass gas and I pass gas. If you comfortable enough around the person, it's not a big deal. But you sitting there judging it. I think what the real issue is, and y'all don't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it because you know this is called Chris Avalon Unfiltered. Y'all don't like the fact that Selena marries someone who is unconventionally attractive. The fact of the matter is, you look at someone like Benny Blanco, and he is not a looker. He doesn't look like Justin Bieber, but when she was with Justin, who y'all were all here for, he fucked that up. And that relationship was a mess. So you want her to be in a toxic relationship versus with someone who you all deem unconventionally attractive. You ain't gotta say it. I see through the way y'all be right what you wrote. I can't believe she lets him touch her. When you say something like that, that's definitely in my mind of minds, me doing a, analyzing the situation. Somebody that looks like him is touching her. You ain't gotta say it. It's in how you presented the what was written that I can read between lines. I'm not dumb. So that's what the real issue is. The fact that this gorgeous girl is in a relationship with a guy that looks like Benny Blanco. And the fact of the matter is, if he makes her happy, if he makes her laugh and does all the things that she looks for in a man and vice versa, then why are we hating on her marriage? Why are we hating on her relationship? Who do you want her to be with? And first of all, y'all ain't paying her bills. You're not putting food on her table. You're not putting clothes on her back or a roof on her head. Maybe you do if you buy her music and you paying for her products. That contributes to it a little bit. But at the end of the day, this is her marriage. When she ready to leave him for whatever godforsaken reason he does her wrong in some sort of way, then y'all can get mad at her and mad at him or whatever the case is. But because he farted, that's why we used to divorce somebody. Tell me y'all ain't been in a relationship by this whole response. So that's how I feel about her tired ass fans. Y'all need to go seriously get a life. So I know I feel like why am I going so hard over this situation? I just don't like I just think that this is just a stupid reason to be upset at someone and telling them to divorce their significant other because they farted. Like, are you dumb? I was so tight. I was so tight when I read this. When I saw this, I was like, "Oh, I got to bring this on this show." So, but I do find it funny that because I know y'all did make them little comments when he ended up with an honorable mention in People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive 2024 issue. Because I read the comments I was writing about that, like there was some negative comments. So the reality is, it is based off his looks. Why y'all are being shady? But shout out to you, Selena. If you like it, I love it. Is what I'll say on that. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this story? I know it sounds crazy, but you know, and this is a story that we're talking about, flatulence and that sort of thing. But we all pass gas. Like, relax. So, and that's not a reason to split with somebody because some of y'all be tolerating, being in relationships when they do far worse. They beat your ass, they be cheating on you, having multiple babies, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and you look the other way. But somebody blow air out their asshole, and that's a deal breaker. Fuck out of here. So I say all this to say, I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below. Oh, Onyx is in the building. Where you been? Mm-mm-mm-mm. Well, I just saw so I could put users in a timeout. I don't think I could do that. Well, because I be banning bitches on here. But anyway, okay, y'all. So let's get into some relationship news. And let's talk about Miss Janet Jackson. So apparently word on the street is because she was recently spotted at a the New Edition concert. I think that was is I don't know why I was thinking that is New Edition New Edition is on tour with Tony Braxton, right? If I'm not mistaken. So apparently Janet Jackson went to a concert and word on the street is that she may have her new boo. And that would be the son of Louis Farrakhan. So here they are in the picture. You see them, they at a concert having a good old time. And Janet like powerful men. So this is not a shocker. I mean, it wouldn't be a shocker if it turns out to be true. So according to Essence, Janet Jackson has been spotted out with a new man, Savannah, and he isn't just any old Tom, Dick, and Harry. The superstar singer has been spending time with Mustapha Farrakhan, the son of Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan, and the what is it? NOI's Supreme Campaign. The most recent, and they said most recently, the two were spotted vibing out at the New Edition. Oh yeah, so it is. I was correct. New Edition, Tony Braxton, Boys to Men concert in Detroit. This isn't the first time the religious leader and singer have been spotted out. In fact, they've been seen on several occasions over the past year, but they haven't confirmed their relationship status. Both Jackson and Farrakhan are reserved people, so we won't hold our breath waiting for them to confirm or deny anything. Janet Jackson is someone who loves keeping a secret. So she don't be letting us know that did we know when she was married to Renee Elizondo? I didn't even know she was with Wissam Almanah, who is her baby father and was her husband at one point. And I saw a recent picture of her with her son Issa. I'm like, that boy got big. He's like, I think 8 or 9. But yeah, he got big. So um and he looked good, but I was sitting there like, see, I was gonna make my little comment. I was like, damn, none of them kids look that's in the Jackson household look like they could be a Jackson. They all look like they could be just these racially ambiguous kids. They don't have no black kids. All them kids is like down with the swirl with soft and curly hair. Because I was looking at a family photo, somebody said, I'm like, damn, all them kids look white, or they look like they're from Palestine or something. Like they got that whole they got kind of like this Mediterranean Arab type of look, or you would say biracial. So they said whether they're dating or not, Jackson has a track record of dating powerful men. Her ex-husband is billionaire and businessman Wissam Al-Manah, who also happens to be Muslim. They're secretly wed. I mean, I think she probably. I wonder if she had to convert to Islam once she got married to him, because I know she was born Jehovah Witness, and so I do wonder if she had to convert to Islam when she got married to Wissam. I'm a poet and I know it. They secretly wed in 2012. They have a son together named Issa and split 3 months later after he was born in 2017. Prior to him, she was married to Renee Elizondo Jr. from 91 to 2000. The Scream singer told Ebony in 93 that he was her best friend, saying, quote, when I first met him, I was going through so much, and I would call him and I would cry on the phone. We were best friends, although she thought he was the one. He ended up, oh, sorry. Although she thought he was the one, it ended up not being the case. That always happens when it comes to relationships. The artist's first marriage was to James DeBarge, who y'all know was the big drug addict, whom she married in 84 at the age of 18. The union allegedly fell apart within a year because of his drug use. As with Farrakhan, his wife Karen died in 2024 at the age of 63 and using her multi-decade marriage. And during their multi-decade marriage, they raised 5 kids together. In 2020, Karen suffered a cardiac arrest, which she sadly never fully recovered from. In the time leading to her death, Farrakhan stepped in to care for his late wife, according to a celebration of life document, saying, I've never seen a husband care for his wife like Mustapha and his children. He did an outstanding, marvelous job. He learned a little bit about nursing, student minister Ishmael wrote. If the so look, if these two were dating, congratulations. I'm glad that Janet done found love in a hopeless place. And he seems like, based off of what I'm reading, he seems like a relatively good guy. I mean, I know a lot of people don't agree with Louis Farrakhan's beliefs and policies, whatever the case is. I've heard some things from Louis Farrakhan. I don't feel no ways upset about some of the stuff he says. I know he can be very aggressive in a lot of his beliefs and things of that nature, but and I've heard some of the things he said. I don't feel no ways about it. So um Janet, I think, definitely needs love because she's been in a lot of relationships where they haven't really gone anywhere, or she's been unlucky in love. So, but if this guy's treating her right and they're reserved employees and he's not treating her like crap or using her or whatever the case is, then kudos to you. Go ahead, go on, girl, Miss Janet. So, I had to, reference one of her songs. Don't be out here throbbing that coochie up on that man, because But anyway, so I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story in regards of do you believe these rumors that's going around that Janet, Miss Jackson, if you nasty, is out here in a whole new relationship with a whole new man that doesn't seem like he's problematic or controlling, whatever the case is. He seems like he's genuinely a good guy based off of what the report from Essence is putting out there. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. All right. So now, speaking of relationships, let's talk about Pedro Pascal because I think at this point, Pedro not even trying to hide that he might like the comfort of a man anymore because they done caught him out there with Rafael Olarra again, but this time it wasn't on the East Coast. It was on the West Coast. So they were going for a little stroll out in California. And the camera people caught him quite a few times. Well, caught Rafael a couple of times, linking arm in arm and resting his face, his nuzzling his face up under Pedro, and they were sneaking little kisses, and he even grabbed Pedro's ass at one point. Child, these two are getting it in. And I'm here for it. I'm a little jealous because I always said Pedro was gonna be my husband. We're gonna have to fight if it gets serious. But for the most part, it looked like Pedro done found love in a hopeless place. And I do have the video, so we're gonna get into that in a second. But because shout out to TMZ. TMZ nosy asses. They always find a way to get their hands on, a situation. So Pedro Pascal and Rafael Olarra have not commented on the nature of their relationship, but some PDA is seemingly confirming that they might be more than just friends. The 50-year-old actor was spotted getting handsy with Rafael during a stroll around a Los Angeles neighborhood on Monday afternoon, and that would be February 23rd. Photos released by TMZ show Pedro with his arm wrapped around Rafael's body, with his mouth and chin resting on his shoulder, seemingly giving him a kiss. Rafael also wrapped his arm around Pedro at one point during the stroll and even grabbed his butt for a quick squeeze. Y'all think Pedro might be a bottom? I don't know. I get verse vibes from him. Verse first, verse first. Walk into the room, verse first. I kind of get that vibe from Pedro. I'm like, look, get it in when you fit in. You take the D and give it. You take the D, you give the D. You take, and give the facts alive. The facts alive. Okay, so all jokes aside, let's get serious. So then he also said that the outing comes just 1 week after Pedro and Rafael were spotted together in New York City. They were seen linking arms on a stroll going to the movies to see Wuthering Heights. That's definitely gay. If you're gonna go see that. That movie is full of sex. And arriving back at a hotel together, which means they got so hot and bothered by Wuthering Heights, they had to get it in. So Pedro and Rafael kept mum on the nature of their relationship when asked by a photographer. And so yeah, we have that clip. Hold on for a second because I want to definitely show y'all the video. So that way, because I remember I had the last time we was up in here, people like, well, who cares if they're in a relationship? Blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, but your ass is sitting here watching this video and you fixed your fingers enough to go and type that in. So clearly you give a fuck. So don't come in here with the fake outrage. So yeah, we got the clip. We're gonna play it. We're gonna come back and talk. Please hold. Why you stopping? I'm sure y'all know y'all on camera. I don't know why y'all trying to fake the phone. Pedro looking a little homeless with these baggy ass shirt and pants on. Going for a stroll. What happened to Raphael's leg? Because I see us like it looked like he broke it. Or maybe he had some surgery. When I used to live in LA, I used to love walking down these little like I guess you would call it an alleyway. Y'all so nosy. Leave these people alone. Let them have a moment. Going for a stroll again. These people nosy. But my thing is this. I say if because I don't even know if is there I don't even think there's any audio. All right, so you clearly see that they're walking around and they're trying to act all oblivious or whatever the case is. And I guess that's cool to a certain point. But I think at this situation, Pedro is 50. Raphael is around my age, was he 44? So it goes to show Pedro got a thing for younger men. But all jokes aside, I don't think he owes us, he doesn't really owe us an explanation. I don't even think he needs to come out of the closet. Kind of like Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah never came out and said she like eating the box. Y'all kind of just know. She got a whole wife and a kid, Ebony, and they living their best life or whatever the case is. She never had to fully disclose that I'm a lesbian. We know it. So I think with him too. I mean, for then again, I don't want to just label him as possibly a homosexual. I mean, he could be bi. Just like I remember hearing the story about that Raphael is bisexual. From what the one of the stories that I heard, because he's into interior design. He works at a bunch of hotel. He works in the hotel industry, and from what I've heard, I think he has a child, or that might have been a situation where that was mixed up with another Rafael Olarra, who is an athlete, a footballer, and has a kid. So I'm not necessarily sure if this Rafael has a kid, but that was, I remember, the initial story. Then it got blurred, and I had to go in and do a whole, not a retract, well, just correct some incorrections, which y'all can see that video over on the channel as a separate thing as well if you want to hear the whole backstory of the correction. But they also mention that this is not his first time dating an actor. He was also dating Luke Evans, who, sidebar, shout out to Luke Evans, because Luke Evans is about to do Rocky Horror Picture Show on Broadway. I actually want to see that because a friend of mine, Michael T, does Rocky Horror every year around Halloween. Well, on Halloween actually, because I went this year, the last Halloween. So he does Dr. Frankenfurter on stage every year. So now it's coming to Broadway, and Luke Evans is playing Dr. Frankenfurter. So he's out here living his best life, in a whole new relationship, and living his free gay life. And I feel like Pedro deserves love and happiness. I hate this idea that A-list actors have to hide who they are because this fear of old ass Hollywood and their old ass ways, thinking if you come out of the closet, and trust and believe, a lot of y'all faves on the A-list aren't really in the pussy. If you knew, you'd gag. But they have to perpetuate a certain image because a lot of you in your homophobic, whatever it is, have a problem with, oh, I can't distinguish this actor being in a movie and co-starring with a woman because in real life they suck dick. It's like, really? Because when I'm watching a performance, it should have nothing to do with what they do behind closed doors. I'm watching a performance. They're actors. They're pretending to be a character they're not in real life. So I don't understand how it's so hard, but I know America is obsessed with who people are sleeping with. In Europe, I don't think they care. But they're both from Chile. Oh, wait. Isn't that where he's from? I think he's from Chile or whatever the case. Well, they're from the same, they have the same nationality. Because can't remember off the top of my head where he's from. But I think he is Chilean. So shout out to you, Pedro. And I hope this is serious and y'all make it work whichever way y'all can. But look, my thing is this: if you ain't want people speculating about your stuff, I don't think you would be out here making it public and doing a lot of PDA. So clearly you want to come out, but you don't want to come out. Like how they used to do back in the day on People magazine. You strike a pose and they put "I'm gay" in big ass font. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? With seeing all the evidence and me reading all to you what the tea is and all this other stuff, whatever your thoughts are, congratulations, Pedro, if this happens to be true. But whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. Hey, I almost hit the wrong thing. Um, okay, you'll be all right. All right, y'all. So now let's get into our final topic. And let's talk about Connor's story. So we already talked about it yesterday. You're gonna have a long wait before. Well, they're supposed to start filming the show, second season of Heat of Rivalry at the end of later this year. The book is not coming out this fall, apparently because the writer has Parkinson's. I believe that's what she said. Or so she's been sick. So she said that she will be releasing the new book in 2027. I think in June or something or another. I can't remember off the top of my head, but um, Connor Story, who plays Ilya Rozanov, one of the gay hockey players on the show, is opening up in V-Man 56, that's what the issue 56, about his relationship with fashion, the fact that he said that he wasn't a reader, that he got introduced to reading from his sister, and what might be next for him in, the acting world. Because he says he also directs, which I didn't even know, but let's get into it. That's one of the pictures. So On fashion, he said, fashion was not on my radar, but the moment you start trying on really nice clothes, you understand why people love it so much. It was never on my radar before, but I really enjoy it. I love the artistry of it. You also realize how really quickly how much materials matter, like a $50 pair of jeans versus a $500 pair. You can really feel the difference, especially with tailoring too. When things are really form fitted to your body, it's hard to go back off the rack. Back to off the rack pants. It's just fun. Playing dress up is my favorite thing, which is probably why I'm in film. It's a prolonged version of that. So these photo shoots are an even more heightened version of it. But yeah, it's like, and I always think that like when it comes to fashion and all this other stuff, it's playing a character. So when they have you in different clothes, be it like wardrobe for, when you're an actor, and when you're wearing certain things in wardrobe as an actor, and then you're trying on clothes with fashion, it's just playing dress up and having fun, and you get to play these different characters. Like, even if I'm on the red carpet, and that's when I was watching his video that he did, I think it was for Vogue, where he was trying on the outfit that he was going to be wearing it for, I think it was, what was it, Paris Fashion Week. And it was like the clothes they put him in and how they tailored it to his body and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's like I'm going out and I'm playing a character. They curl his hair, and they were having this inspiration of like a rock star type of vibe and everything that was going for him. And it's like, yeah, I'm feeling very much like a rock star, because in a way, metaphorically speaking, when you look at these kids that have their careers are blown up from this show, in a way, they are rock stars. Yeah, they don't play music, but the way that they're being mobbed by a bunch of girls and the gays and everybody in between, this is what this is giving in regards of the overall thing. So, in a metaphor speaking, they are rock stars. Now, on his overnight success, they said, first of all, it's really difficult to fully comprehend the level at which this is being seen. I'll be completely honest, it's only really started to settle in over the last week. I was on the east side driving to get dinner, and there was this big crowd on a street corner. I'm like, oh, I wonder what everyone's doing. He said, I pulled forward a bit and realized it was a club doing a heated rivalry night, sold out, our faces everywhere. I literally drove for a block and a half, and the line just snaked all the way down the street. That was the first time I could really visualize it. Online numbers are so elusive. Many millions of views don't always feel real, but seeing a few hundred people physically waiting to get inside, I was like, whoa, this is a real thing. It's been beautiful, honestly. I wanted this for so long, and I've imagined what it would be like, the projects, the conversations, the people I'd meet. I'm meeting some of my idols like Greg Araki, and I said this without wishing it at all, but even if it ended now, I'd be floored. Anything after this feels like a cherry on top. Well, I do like Greg Araki. Isn't he supposed to be coming out with a new movie? Or has it? I think he did a movie with Charlie XCX. They said on what projects he'll do next. Now, as an actor, I have a pretty broad range of what I'd appreciate, which kind of makes option paralysis more feasible. It really just comes down to the part. I'm a very visual person, so if I read something and I can see it plainly, I feel excited and comfortable right away. With Ilya, for example, the moment I read it, I could fully see the person and embody him. Going forward, I just want to be in more things. I've never really done a comedy. I've never really done a horror. I'm still very new to working. I want to stretch out, be bold, and see what sticks. Well, I did hear that he's supposed to be doing a comedy that he signed on. That story just came out that he's signed on to do a comedy for A24. So you said you want to do a comedy, and they say, ask and you shall receive. So it looks like it's about to go down. Now, on romance, he said, my only connection to the reading world was my sister, who's a very big reader. But it's funny, looking back, I don't really even register it as a romance. I think Ilya specifically has so much going on in his personal life that the romance feels more like a byproduct of his human experience. I'm honestly jealous of people who discover reading as their pastime. I was talking to Rachel Reed, the author, yesterday, and she asked if I read the book. I was like, honestly, the only books I've read in the past few years are Heated Rivalry and The Long Game. So no, I wasn't familiar with romance at all, but I definitely see the power in it. I think reading in that way is really good for your brain. And the people I've met through book culture are great. It's a cool fan base. They're incredibly enthusiastic, bright, and emotional. And last but certainly not least, he goes on and talks about how he like heated rivalry to affect Hollywood. And he said, well, because I write and direct as well, and I'm in the middle of finishing production on my iPhone feature, the press of this really kind of took over. I've been really trying to piece together little places where I can take something I learned personally and something I think is mirrored, excuse me, in this. I mean, there was still so much money and resources that went into making Heated Rivalry, even though it definitely considered a small thing. It's been really inspiring to me to show that something doesn't necessarily have to be hundreds of millions of dollars in order to be cool and watchable. And I think that would be inspiring to more independent style film or TV makers. Is it nice to have 100 million to make something? 100%. But I think it shows that bigger isn't always better. And people really do love connection, and that's what this is and what people care, and that's what people care about. That's why the net of people who flock to this is so wide and diverse. People just love to connect. And you have to realize that, yeah, they didn't have a lot of money to make Heated Rivalry, and it was a huge hit. And also, this actually tracks because friend of the show Robert sent me a article where the president, I believe, of Tubi was mentioning this and was talking about how doing that it's that a lot of people that watch their programming doesn't really care if it's made by somebody with $100 million, $200 million budget. People just, I think he was basically alluding to the same thing, that people just want to connect. They don't care how much money is put behind it. I will say this for me: if the passion and the heart and everything is in there, and you can make something good with what you have, because some of the greatest, most creative stuff that has come out of, when you only can make it off of like a paper cup and a paper clip, and that's your budget of putting the movie together, and it comes across as it's way better than these movies that they put 150 million, $200 million behind, because we've seen a lot of those big budgeted movies and the scripts are bad or the acting's bad, and then they wonder why they didn't recoup their money. Or some of them that's really bad and they do recoup them or make a lot of money, like that last Jurassic World movie was terrible. So shout out to Connor, he looks good here, seeing that nipple and that little shirt and them shorts, and the body is bodying. He's cute. Happy birthday too. He just turned 26. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the new season of Heated Rivalry when that comes out. I need to start catching up on the books, which I told y'all a friend of mine read all the books and loved them after he saw the show and he loved the show. But yeah, I definitely need to get into taking the time to read books and things because I haven't been able to do that in a minute. So shout out to y'all. If you want to read the rest of the interview on V-Man, it's out there on, you could just look it up on Google or whatever the case is, or you can go on my channel because it's on my website, chrisavalon.com, and you can read the full article there. But I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. All right. So, um, I'll say this. It looks like we're at the end of today's show. I want to thank you all for tuning in for the latest episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. One final time, if you can, please hit that like button, smash that notification, hit that subscribe, so that way you know when we go live with a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. Um, I'm gonna see if I can. I'm not gonna be able to do a show tomorrow, but I'm gonna try to see if I can do a show on Friday because yeah, I'm gonna go see Scream 7, and I'm gonna try to do a short but sweet show right after that, so we could talk a bit about the movie, my overall thoughts. I'm not gonna do a spoiler because I know it's the opening night, full opening night, and I want to give people a chance to see it. But I just want to give my overall thought on what I thought of the movie and the characters and stuff. And yeah, and then we'll talk other hot topics and things when that happens. So yeah, love you all for watching. I'll be back on Friday, Lord willing, if my schedule permits it. I'm gonna try to see if I can squeeze in the show. But yes, love you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in, all that good stuff. And until next time, ciao, darlings.